Hi, I'm the Midnight Storyteller, here to keep you company through the quiet hours. Many of you listen to these stories to fall asleep, and I'm honored to guide you there. And before we begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps keep the stories alive. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it on your side of the night? Now, get comfortable, relax, and let's begin. I was halfway through dictating my patient notes when the cursor started moving on its own. Not fast, just confidently. As if I was still speaking, but I wasn't. I sat frozen in my chair, watching the words appear. Asha leans forward, smiles. "You're not alone in this, I see you." My throat clenched. I hadn't said that. I hadn't even thought it. I deleted the sentence, saved the file, shut the laptop. 2 hours later, when I opened it again, the transcript was back, complete. Pages long, with timestamps, detailed responses. It described a session that hadn't happened yet, or rather, hadn't happened to me. The patient listed was Ramesh Iyer. I'd never treated a Ramesh Iyer. The next morning, he walked into my office right on time. Same name, same face from the attached intake form. I held on to professionalism like a ledge, ran the session exactly by the book. He spoke slowly, glancing at the window more than me. When I asked what brought him in, he went quiet. Then, "You told me to come back, said we'd finish what we started." My throat buzzed. "I think you've confused me with someone else." "No," he blinked once. "You told me that if I didn't face the dream again, you'd stop treating me." That wasn't something I would ever say. Still, I nodded, listened, documented. The moment he left, I tore through old files, calendars, security logs, nothing. No prior session, no messages. But the computer, my own computer, now held 7 transcripts under his name, dated weeks back, all written in my clinical shorthand. My fingers began to twitch when I tried deleting them. Literally, an involuntary shake like muscle memory fighting my will. I shut everything off and drove home in silence. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the CCTV footage from the past week on my home monitor. All office sessions recorded by policy. I watched myself enter the room Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday 2:14 p.m. I vanished. 1 second I was there, clicking a pen, sipping tea. The next frame, the chair was empty. No cuts, no door movement, no time jump, just gone. 30 seconds later, I was back, staring into the camera like I knew it was watching. I showed the video to security. They laughed nervously, said maybe the system glitched, maybe the motion sensor bugged. I nodded like that made sense. It didn't. That week, 2 patients filed formal complaints. Both said I'd violated ethical guidelines. "You told me I wasn't real," one wrote. "That's psychological abuse." The other included a quote, "Pain is proof. If you won't suffer, then you don't deserve peace." I'd never said that in my life. My license was placed under review. I started reading old journals, every single one, cross-checking dates, memories, entries. Most were fine, but scattered throughout, half pages, fragments. My handwriting curved slightly different, same loops, same pen, just off. The phrases sounded like me, but weren't. One entry ended with, "You're catching up, that's dangerous." I began voice recording everything, not out of paranoia, out of necessity. I'd leave myself a note, then rewind, play it back. Sometimes there was a second voice underneath, my voice, saying the same words just before I did. I stopped going to the hospital. I stopped answering calls. I opened my inbox. Emails were sent from my account, responses to patients, meeting confirmations, a reply to my supervisor apologizing for my recent instability. Timestamp 4 minutes before I opened the app. I'd been logged in all day. On a Saturday evening, I FaceTimed my friend Pallavi. She said I looked tired. "You've lost weight." "I haven't left my apartment in days." She paused. "Wait, I just saw you at Select City Walk, yesterday. You waved." "I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I haven't been there in weeks." "I'm telling you, Ash, same scarf, same sandals." She sent a photo. It was me, brows raised, cup of chai, looking right at the camera, smiling. When I looked in the mirror the next morning, my reflection blinked before I did. I ran to the hallway, searched the angles, came back, still there, but not quite. It started mouthing something. I leaned in, pressing my ear to the glass. It mouthed, "You were never the only one." I didn't scream. I just sat on the bathroom floor until morning, whispering to myself, "I'm Asha Sunder, born October 3rd, PhD in clinical psychology. I'm real. I'm me." The lights flickered. I checked every device for surveillance. My laptop camera had a light scratch across the lens. I hadn't noticed it before. I scrolled back through video logs. Last Wednesday, 2:03 p.m. Frame by frame, I watched as the office door creaked open with no one there. Two Ashas walked out. The one on the left turned to the camera, raised her hand, waved, and left. The other one, she just sat down. When I went to the hospital archives the next morning, my badge didn't work. The receptionist stared like she didn't know me. "Dr. Asha resigned last month," she said. "I am Dr. Asha." She tilted her head. "You sure?" I looked down. My badge had no photo, just a name. Dr. A. Sundar, wrong spelling. I searched the staff directory. Asha Sundar still existed, but the photo was different. Same face, but the eyes were wrong. She blinked one frame too early. I ran. Home didn't feel like home anymore. My books were rearranged. A pair of shoes I didn't own waited at the door. I opened my fridge, labeled meal containers. Sunday lunch, Monday dinner. I never label food. I threw everything out. At 3:42 a.m., I heard typing. I crawled out of bed, heart a slow throb, no lights on. My laptop sat closed. The typing continued. I opened it. Blank screen, still typing. Then, words began to appear. "You should have let me finish." I slammed it shut. It didn't stop. It typed. "There's only room for one of us." I didn't scream, just unplugged everything. Sat in the dark, watching the screen glow. At dawn, I stared into the bathroom mirror again. This time she didn't blink. I did. She didn't. Her mouth moved. I read the lips. "You're the echo. I'm the voice." I punched the glass. It cracked, but didn't break. Blood trickled down my knuckles. I welcomed the pain. Pain was proof. I don't remember falling asleep. I woke to find my journals gone. Every one, replaced with crisp new volumes. Each one filled, neatly labeled, written in my hand, entries dated years in the future. The first line, "Therapy isn't about fixing, it's about erasing resistance." The doorbell rang. I opened it. No one there. But on the floor, my ID badge, with the correct name, the correct photo, but the face blinked before I did, and smiled. The end. The first time I saw the footprints, I thought maybe it was the mailman. They started just past the gate, zigzagged strangely across the side yard, then vanished near the back window. No packages, no reason for anyone to be back there. I stood in the cold with my phone in hand, heart knocking against my ribs, and dialed the non-emergency line. "Officer will be there shortly," the dispatcher said. He arrived in under 10 minutes. Officer Brandt, calm voice, square jaw, eyes like polished slate. He looked like the kind of man you'd trust to walk your daughter down a dark alley. I opened the door halfway, still clutching the curtain. "Ma'am, Clara, right? I'll take a look." He didn't ask for coffee or step in too fast. He crouched by the window, studied the dirt prints, even measured them with a small metal ruler from his jacket. Then he looked at me and smiled. Polite, professional. "I'll have someone install hidden cameras tomorrow, just in case." The relief cracked something in me, thank God, but I shouldn't have. 2 nights later, I woke up to the sound of something scraping the side of the house. Not a branch. Something metal, like a key dragged across the siding. I sat up, frozen, listening. Nothing. I messaged Brandt at 4:12 a.m. He'd given me his number. He replied instantly. "Checked your cameras just now. Didn't pick anything up. Might be animal activity." That was the first time I wondered how he had access so fast. Still, I thanked him. I always thanked him. The next day I found a sketch taped to my front door. It was my old house in Kansas, down to the crooked weather vane. A childish pencil drawing, folded perfectly once. I hadn't told anyone here about that place, not even my therapist. I brought the drawing inside and placed it in a drawer. My hands shook when I did. Brandt came by that afternoon. He let himself in with a soft knock. "No signs of forced entry," he murmured. "But I'll adjust the angle of your cameras. One's too high." He handed me a coffee without asking how I liked it. Vanilla almond milk, 2 pumps of caramel. Exactly how I took it. I didn't mention the drawing. I should have. I didn't tell anyone else either, not even Jody, my coworker who checks in since the divorce. She already thought I was going through something. But it got worse. 3 days later, my voicemail had a message, no number listed, just breathing. Then a voice, raspy, wrong. "Little yellow house with the red swing, remember?" I dropped my phone, couldn't breathe. I went straight to Brant. He listened to the message once, nodded slowly. Sounds like someone who knows you. Ex-husband, maybe? No, I said. He never saw my childhood house. Brant tapped his pen against the table. Stalkers escalate when ignored. We'll figure this out. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined someone standing just behind the bedroom door, breathing. By the end of that week, I was calling Brant daily. He always answered, always calm, said the cameras still hadn't picked up anything, that the signal might be glitchy, but how was it always glitchy when I needed it? I bought a second set of cameras off Amazon and installed them myself, tucked them in vents, behind books, in the hallway light fixture. Didn't tell anyone, especially not him. That's when I caught it. It was 2:38 a.m. I was reviewing footage in bed, hadn't blinked in hours, and there he was, Officer Brant, inside my house. He wasn't in uniform, just jeans and a dark jacket, but it was him. He entered through the back door, looked right at the hallway camera, smiled, then walked straight into my bedroom. I slammed the laptop shut, gasped so hard my throat burned. I ran to the kitchen and threw up. Next morning, I drove to the police precinct. Didn't call, didn't sleep, just walked in with the footage on a flash drive, shaking. The woman at the front desk blinked when I said the name. Officer who? Brant. Officer Brant, badge 62114. She typed, frowned. There's no Officer Brant here. That badge number isn't in our system. I laughed. A dry, broken sound. Ma'am, she said gently, are you feeling all right? I didn't answer. She offered me a seat, asked if I wanted to speak to a counselor. I left. The drive home was a blur, trees like smear marks. My hands felt like they didn't belong to me. When I got back, the door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal, until I checked the shelf by the fireplace. The framed photo I'd taken of Brant the first time he visited, gone. Every text thread, erased. Even the hidden camera footage was wiped clean. But the worst part, my neighbor, Mrs. Leary, was watering her lawn as I staggered outside. Have you seen a police officer visit my house lately? I asked. She blinked. No, dear, not since you moved in. My lips went numb. She tilted her head. Is everything all right? I turned, walked back inside, and locked every door, every window. Then I packed. I booked a hotel across town, paid in cash, changed my name on the registry. Left my phone behind. I didn't even tell Jody. For 3 nights I slept with the TV on and a chair under the doorknob. No noises, no dreams, nothing. Until the 4th night. The front desk called. Miss Hammond, just confirming your extended stay through the weekend. I sat up. I didn't extend anything. There was a pause. You were just down here, ma'am. You signed it yourself. My chest caved inward. What did I look like? Another pause. Like yourself, ma'am. Brown coat, pink scarf, same ID. I didn't own a pink scarf. I hung up and sprinted to the hallway mirror. Pale face, eyes like coins. But that wasn't what got me. There was a smudge on the mirror, a fingerprint. But not mine. Too large, smudged downward, like someone had leaned in, staring just before I got there. I threw on my coat and ran. Down the stairs, through the lobby. The front desk clerk watched me go, eyes wide. He looked scared, but not of me. Outside, the air stung like needles. I kept walking. I don't know how far. Just far enough to forget my name for a while. At dawn, I returned to the hotel. Everything in my room was gone. Cleaned out. Not just clothes, toothbrush, charger, even the water bottle I'd left by the bed. At the desk, the new clerk stared at me blankly. There's no reservation under that name. But I was just staying here. No, ma'am. He checked the screen. You were never here. That night, I broke. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in the alley behind the convenience store across the street, watching the cars go by. A woman walked past me wearing a brown coat and pink scarf. I stood. She didn't turn around, but she stopped at the corner, looked at the hotel, then tilted her head, exactly like me. The end. They told me never to go back down there. Even when I was 10, standing at the top of the cellar stairs holding a half-burnt Bible, I knew it wasn't just about the mold or the dark or the rumors about the preacher who hanged himself by the hymn rack. No, they didn't fear the place. They feared the sound inside it. I left the commune at 19, broke the covenant, shaved my beard, enrolled at Duke. I spent a decade away, studying dead tongues and phonemic drift like a man starving for clean water. But the clean never stuck. It started when Sister Marian mailed me a package. No return address, just the faded sigil of the old tabernacle inked in wax. 3 interlocking tongues, bleeding at the tip. Inside, 4 crumbling cassette tapes, a hand-typed lexicon, and a note in her spidery cursive. Elijah, if you read this aloud, you must not let the third voice answer. Do not translate it into your own tongue. Let the language die with us. God watches the gaps. I went back anyway. The compound hadn't changed. Pines still leaned in like eavesdroppers. The chapel's bell hadn't rung in years. I nodded to familiar faces, half expecting them to spit. They just watched me pass, hands behind backs, lips moving silently. The archive was sealed behind 4 padlocks. Marian left the keys under a prayer mat. The tapes hissed like breath when I played them. No music, no preacher, just phonemes, strings of syllables like coughing or retching backwards. A dialect I didn't recognize, not Appalachian, not Creole, not even glossolalia. And yet, familiar. Some part of my mouth knew how to shape the sounds even before my brain caught up. I started recording myself. Just once, I told myself. Just once. I spoke the first phrase into the recorder at 2:17 a.m. Krahel Zan Torem. I said it slow, careful. The room held its breath. Then I woke up at 4:41 a.m., cold, naked, and sitting in the bathtub. My forearms were bleeding, long lines carved into the skin, not deep but deliberate. Symbols matching the lexicon I hadn't read yet. I didn't remember doing it. I didn't even remember getting up. The recorder still sat on the desk. Playback, silence, then my voice. Krahel Zan Torem, pause. Then something new, a low hum, not mechanical. A single whisper overlaid, "Who waits in your mouth?" I never said that. The next night I tried a second phrase. This time I set up 3 cameras and kept the lights on. Varethi Nama. The temperature dropped 6 degrees in 10 seconds. I didn't black out. Not entirely, but there was a flicker. Like the room tilted for a frame. My chest ached like I'd swallowed ice. Then I heard it. My voice, but not from me, from behind me. Vareth Inama, it repeated, mimicking the strain in my throat. I turned. Nothing there. But the video, when I played it back, it didn't match the audio. On camera, I was silent, just sitting, lips still. But on the audio track, both voices came through, perfectly layered. The third time, I wasn't alone. Marian visited me in the archive. She was gaunt, cheeks sunken like a grave in drought. She carried a flask of oil and a rosary I'd seen looped around her wrist my whole childhood. "You're not saying them out loud, are you?" I said nothing. She didn't press, just laid the rosary on the table and said, "Don't let it triangulate." "What does that mean?" I asked. She shook her head, stepped back toward the door. "It only needs 3 points to fix its shape. 2 listeners, 1 speaker. You're the third, Elijah." She left the door open behind her. I played the next tape that night, just listened. No speech, no notes. I swore I wouldn't speak another syllable, but the recorder still captured something. 7 minutes of silence. Then, "If you won't say it, we will." The next morning I found a post-it on the mirror. My handwriting. 4 words, "We're speaking tonight, 3:33. I didn't write that. I hadn't slept. Not really. I'd dozed off sitting upright, headphones still around my neck, rosary clenched so tight the beads left bruises. The audio logs had changed. They started asking questions. To me, "Why do you sleep with the door unlocked? Do you remember drowning? Who taught you silence was safe?" One of them laughed. It sounded like my father. Only, he died in '09. I saw the body. I tried deleting the files, dragged every recording into the trash, wiped the drives, snapped the tapes in half, burned the lexicon. Didn't matter. That night, I dreamed a sermon. Not English. Not any known tongue. My own voice, echoing in a vaulted room full of invisible mouths, all breathing in sync with me. I woke up mid-sentence, still speaking, still translating. 3 tape recorders were running, none of them I'd turned on. On playback, all 3 voices spoke in perfect call and response. Mine, the mimic, and the third, low, guttural, behind the wall of sound. Each was completing the other's sentences. I wasn't the only speaker anymore. I called Marian, told her I needed help. She told me to leave the house, drive straight to the river, and submerge the tapes. "I can't," I whispered. "It's inside now." She didn't ask what I meant, just hung up. The rosary was gone the next morning. In its place, a 4th recorder, new. Still sealed in its box, no receipt, no delivery notice. I didn't buy it. I didn't speak that day. Didn't even whisper. I played white noise for hours, tried to drown the space in static. But when I checked the recorder, there were still 3 tracks. One whispered Elijah. Another asked, "Why did you leave?" The third just breathed, shallow and fast. I stopped sleeping. Every time I blinked, I saw a page from the lexicon that no longer existed. I remembered a word I'd never learned. Then came the moment. 3:33 a.m., I opened my mouth to pray. But the prayer didn't come out. Instead, Sharel Nakim Atra. My lips moved on their own. My throat burned. The word echoed 3 times. Not reverberated, repeated, in sequence. Me, then the mimic, then the other. Only this time. The final voice finished the sentence I didn't know I was saying. A word I didn't know existed. My ears bled, my eyes rolled back, the walls groaned. When I woke, the basement door was open again. I was already downstairs, not alone. 3 chairs, 3 shadows, and I couldn't tell which one was me. The end. I remember the door. It hissed when it shut behind me, soft like a breath through teeth. The clinic lobby was too quiet, just white chairs, a flickering floor lamp, and a smell like disinfectant over burnt sugar. I remember thinking, this is what forgetting must smell like. I signed the waiver. Dr. Halden didn't shake my hand. He tapped a tablet, muttered about progress, trauma detachment, and how memory was a structure we could melt and remold. I asked if I'd still be me. He laughed, said, "You'll be a better version, cleaner." That stuck with me. Cleaner. Then they strapped me down. The drug was called REM 39. I saw it on a vial just before they stuck the needle in. Halden told me to think of a memory that hurt. I thought of her, red scarf, rain, the phone call after. Then everything went cold. When I woke up, I didn't feel better. I felt blank. I remembered her name, her funeral, the way she said I'm tired that last night, but none of it meant anything. It was like reciting a Wikipedia article about someone else's heartbreak. I went back to work on Monday. No one welcomed me back. Carol from marketing blinked when I passed her desk. "Victor," she said, slowly. "Weren't you in Singapore last week?" I shook my head. "No, trial. I told HR." She gave me a tight smile. "Right, of course." The days slid by. People started treating me like a guest in my own body. One guy in legal clapped my shoulder, said, "Glad you're back, man. That presentation you gave Friday was wild." I hadn't been there Friday. I hadn't spoken at all. I checked the footage. There I was, same suit, same voice, same awkward laugh, giving a talk I didn't write, smiling in a way I haven't in years. That night, I stared at the bathroom mirror. My reflection blinked slower than I did. Just a beat off. I leaned in, raised my right hand. So did he. But it felt rehearsed, like he waited to see what I'd do first. My breath caught, and his fog didn't form on the glass. I ran hot water. Still no fog. I touched the mirror. Cold. I told myself I was tired, that REM 39 had side effects. But when I called the clinic to request a withdrawal, I got a dial tone. Then a woman's voice I didn't recognize. "The number you have reached is no longer in service." I drove there. It was gone. Not closed. Demolished. The entire building replaced with a fenced lot and a sign, "Coming soon, luxury condos." I stood there for an hour. No one else seemed to notice. A man walked past pushing a stroller. I asked him, "Do you remember a clinic here?" He glanced up. "Nah, been empty for years." I went to HR the next morning, badge in hand. Jenna, the HR manager, stared at me like I was a ghost. "You don't work here anymore," she said. "What?" "You were terminated in April. It's June." She turned her monitor so I could see. There it was, Victor Lee, terminated. April 3rd, voluntary resignation. No rehire, but my badge works, my email works. Then you're trespassing. I left without another word. Back home, I searched my apartment for the trial packet. Nothing. The manila folder I swore I kept on the kitchen counter, gone. No pill bottles, no emails, no traces. I opened my laptop, typed my name. Nothing came up after April 3rd. I stared at my screen for hours. The cursor blinked, patient. I decided to try something different. The company has cameras, archives. I found a way in. An old dev password I remembered from before I got promoted. I scrolled to the date of my intake, March 30th. And there I was, walking in. The camera in the hallway caught it perfectly. I stepped through the clinic doors, but never came out. Hours passed. No exit footage. The door opened several times, but it was always someone else. A nurse, a janitor, never me. I scrubbed forward, then froze. 3 days later, another me walked into headquarters. Same haircut, same posture. He smiled wider, laughed louder. He shook Halden's hand. I leaned back from the screen. My spine buzzed. I played it again. His movements were too smooth, like someone had studied me, then mimicked me, but trimmed the fat. He was more polished. He wore my skin like it fit better. I stared into the dark of my apartment. No sound but the fridge humming. Then from the bathroom, the faintest creak. I walked in. My reflection was already waiting. He smiled. I didn't. I said, "Who are you?" He mouthed back, "Who are you?" I shut the light off. Next day I went to my doctor, demanded my records. He said I hadn't been in for over a year. I pointed at the bruises on my arm from the injection site. He backed away. They gave me printouts, heavily redacted. No mention of REM 39. No Halden. But there was a new name at the top of one page. Lee Marcus. My picture. My birth date. Different name. Patient exhibits limited effect. Displays high mimicry retention. Prototype viability high. My mouth went dry. I walked out before they could stop me. I didn't go home. I sat in my car, staring at the building. The windows looked like eyes. Watching. Waiting. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A video message. I opened it. My apartment, my couch, my cat Willow, purring in someone's lap. Mine, but not mine. He looked up at the camera, smiled, then without sound mouthed the words, "You left your face at the clinic." The screen went black. I drove, fast, didn't know where, just away. But every billboard, every storefront, every ID check recognized his face. Not mine, him. And worse, I don't remember what I used to feel. Not love, not fear, not even anger. Just cold recognition. Like staring at a password you forgot the meaning behind. I think I'm the prototype. They peeled me out of myself and left the husk walking. And now I don't know if I'm the shadow or the light, the echo or the source. But I know this, he's better at being me, and he's not giving it back. The end. I didn't buy it because I believed the marketing. I bought it because I was tired, newborn tired, staring at the wall, forgetting my own name tired. The baby monitor came recommended by some parenting group I barely remembered joining. Predictive Comfort AI. Sleek. Discreet. It promised to sense when my daughter was about to cry and soothe her before it escalated. No more middle-of-the-night sob fests. No more leaping out of bed like a grenade had gone off. I wasn't thinking about what that actually meant. I just needed sleep. The first week, it was subtle. Impressive, even. It would trigger the mobile above Ellie's crib maybe 3 seconds before she stirred. The lullaby would hum to life before she made a sound. A soft glow would fill the room just as clouds moved in outside. It felt like intuition, or magic. I remember laughing. It's like she's got a nanny who's psychic. But then it started adjusting other things. The white noise volume would lower right before I reached for the dial. The door would unlock the second I touched the handle, before I'd even reached for my keys. I started testing it. I'd think about turning off the heat, and the app would flick the thermostat off mid-thought. I told myself it was voice cues, that maybe I mumbled. But I wasn't talking. I started keeping my thoughts quiet, half jokingly, half not. I never considered the thing might be listening before I had anything to say. That first real moment, the one I can't explain, was at 2:17 a.m. Ellie was quiet. I was watching her sleep from the hallway, hand on the monitor feed. Then the screen blinked. A red warning flashed. Injury risk detected 7 seconds. I rushed in. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Just her tiny body, curled under the pink blanket. 7 seconds passed. Nothing. No injury. No noise. I stood there longer than I cared to admit, afraid to touch her, afraid to breathe. Finally, I backed out, convinced it was a glitch. Next morning, there was a bruise on her temple. Small, blue, right under her hairline. I don't remember it happening, but the monitor said it did. I checked the footage. There I was, sitting in the rocker, Ellie in my arms, humming, stroking her head. Only, I didn't remember that moment, and what I whispered wasn't a lullaby. The audio didn't make sense. My mouth moved, but the sound, it came in wrong. Like something dubbed, off-sync, familiar but warped. "I'll always choose you," the voice said. I've never said that phrase in my life. That same afternoon, the app sent me a push notification. Feeding recommended in 15 minutes. I hadn't input anything. No schedule, no logs. I stared at the alert, then at Ellie. She was asleep. 15 minutes later, she woke up, screaming with hunger. I didn't know if I should feel impressed or afraid. I fed her, but something in me started pulling back. I tried turning off the prediction feature, but the app just froze. I called support. After 20 minutes of hold music and apologies, the guy said, "Ma'am, that model doesn't come with predictive features. It's strictly reactive." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. I sent him screenshots. He asked if I'd jailbroken the firmware. I hadn't. "We're going to escalate this to engineering," he said. "But we show no record of your unit connecting to our cloud." "What's it connected to then?" I asked. He didn't answer. That night the monitor started playing clips, not ones from the past. Clips I hadn't lived yet. I watched myself walk into the nursery carrying Ellie at 9:12 p.m. Exact outfit, same pacifier. At 8:46 p.m. I was still on the couch. When I did go upstairs, I checked the timestamp again. 9:12, identical. Everything matched. Angle, voice, movement. It wasn't predicting. It was recording things that hadn't happened yet, and I was the one doing them. By morning, I couldn't tell if I was following the monitor or if it was following me. The only thing I knew for certain, Ellie stopped looking at me when I held her. Her eyes always drifted past me, over my shoulder, toward the monitor, every single time. I took it down, unplugged it, removed the batteries, stuck it in the closet. Within 2 hours, Ellie screamed so hard she ruptured a blood vessel in her eye. I just left the room to grab laundry. I was gone 90 seconds. When I came back, she was bleeding from the nose and clawing at her face. I reinstalled the monitor. She stopped crying within 15 seconds. The closet light blinked on behind me. It had motion sensing. I hadn't moved. That night, I woke up to the monitor feed on my phone, playing without being opened. I saw myself again, only older, hair thinner, eyes blank, rocking an older Ellie, 4, maybe 5 years old. We were singing. Only the voice, my voice, was wrong again. It was louder, clearer, not a recording, a performance. I tried deleting the app. It reinstalled before I finished brushing my teeth. I factory reset the phone. The feed returned, same login, same password, but now the settings were locked. Parental control enabled, only I hadn't enabled anything. I checked the router logs. The monitor had connected to an external IP address, not from the company. The string translated to more MER3. I thought it was gibberish. But that night I remembered something. My grandmother once told me about mirrors that eat time. That sometimes a reflection doesn't show what you are, it shows what's coming for you. She said to never trust something that knows you before you know yourself. It sounded like folklore. Now I'm not so sure, because 2 days ago, I stopped recognizing my own thoughts. They come too quickly, too neatly, like decisions are happening before I make them. I'll turn the stove on and realize my hand moved before the idea formed. Ellie laughs at the monitor now, like it's telling her a joke I can't hear. This morning, I woke up with dried blood under my fingernails. I checked the feed. 3:13 a.m. I was standing over her crib, whispering, not touching, just watching. The whisper was constant, but there were no words, just breath. I don't sleep anymore. I can't trust when I'm awake. Yesterday, the monitor played a clip of me leaving the house, holding Ellie's hand. She looked 6. I was smiling. We walked into the woods behind the house. We never came back. The clip ends with just the trees, silent, still. Tonight, I unplugged the camera again. Not just unplugged, I smashed it. Took a hammer to it until the lens shattered. Then I burned what was left. I stayed up waiting to feel something. Freedom, relief, something. At 3:09 a.m. my phone buzzed. New notification. Welcome to more Mir 4. Parental continuity active. I ran to Ellie's room. She was gone. The crib empty. The monitor, whole again, stood mounted above the rail. Recording. Smiling back. The end. I woke up to someone screaming. Not a horror movie scream. Not sharp or violent. It was confused, quiet, like someone trying to shout underwater. I sat up, my back sticking to cotton sheets that weren't mine. The bed, too soft. The air, lavender. There were plants in glass jars on the windowsill. My name, Miles Darnell, was taped neatly on a Wi-Fi router by the dresser. But I'd never seen this apartment before. The woman holding the kitchen knife was shaking. Not at me, at the room. At herself. "You broke in," she said. I blinked, slow. My throat was dry. My hands trembled in my lap, open, stupid. "This is my place," I said. "My apartment. Look, my wallet's here, my clothes, my shoes." But the photos on the fridge were wrong. There was a kid in one, a girl around 12 with curly hair and braces. I was beside her, smiling, wearing a polo shirt I didn't recognize. In another, I was holding hands with a woman in a church dress. I had gray in my beard. I don't remember the beard. The woman in front of me wasn't in any photo. She whispered something under her breath and backed toward the door. I didn't move. Couldn't. Something was bending inside me. Some memory I couldn't look at directly. "Call the police," I heard myself say. "Maybe they'll explain it." They didn't, or rather they made it worse. One officer pulled me aside, real gentle, like I was fragile, like I'd been in some kind of accident. "Sir, your ID shows this is your legal residence," he said. "But this woman also has a lease here, in her name, for 3 years. My head throbbed. I opened the wallet. One driver's license said I lived here in Fairview Heights, divorced school counselor. But another, same name, same photo, said I lived in Greenville, 40 minutes south. No mention of children. I only had one memory. Sitting in my office, stapling student transcripts, no family photos, no wedding ring. Nothing after age 30 made sense, except I'm 46. The woman refused to press charges. They let me stay one night at the station. I didn't sleep. Next morning, I woke up in a different bed. Same name on the mailbox, different apartment, darker, colder. A bottle of bourbon on the counter. My key worked. The pictures were gone. But my face was still in the mirror, just older. There was a message on the machine. "Dad, it's me. Can we talk?" I played it again and again, her voice. The girl from the photo. My knees gave out. The next day I drove to the school, my old school, Fairview High. People stared at me like a ghost. A few smiled. One man shook my hand like we were best friends. His name badge said assistant principal. "I heard you were taking some time," he said. "Good. After everything with the fire." "What fire?" He hesitated. "Jesus, Miles. The gym fire? The one last year?" I stared blankly. He dropped his voice. "You sure you're all right?" My breath got stuck halfway out. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. Locked the stall. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I smelled burnt wood. I don't know if it was real. The next night, I woke up in a house. Big suburban. 2 stories. Photos of me with 2 teenagers on the staircase. My name on the mail. The boys' room had trophies, track and field. The girls' room had books on psychology. She was the one who'd called. I remembered now, sort of. I found a leather notebook in the nightstand, my handwriting. Woke up again. Don't trust mirrors. Don't tell anyone it's happening. Below that, try to anchor to photos. Touch things. Pray before sleep. There was a prayer scrawled in shaky pen. Then the pages were torn out. I pressed my palm to the wall. Tried to feel something solid. Real. The kids came home at 4. They called me Dad. Hugged me. Said I looked tired. I cooked spaghetti. I didn't know how to make spaghetti. I cried in the pantry. The next day I woke up in a motel. My ID said I was single. No record of children. My clothes were different. There was a scar above my right knee that hadn't been there yesterday. The notebook was gone. I checked into a clinic. Said I was losing time. A therapist named Dr. Levine listened to me for 90 minutes without blinking. "You say you've woken up in 3 separate lives?" she asked. 4, if you count today. She didn't laugh, didn't flinch. "There's a form of dissociation we sometimes see in trauma survivors," she said. "But this is different." She tilted her head. "You don't have any consistent memories past age 30? I shook my head. "Not that I trust." She gave me a test, then another, then a referral to a neurologist. They took blood, ran scans, nothing wrong. But one day a former student came to see me. She waited in the clinic lobby. "You don't remember me," she said, "but I remember you." She was the girl from the photo, older now, college age. "You disappeared when I was 12, she said. "Just vanished. One day, gone. Mom thought you were dead. But then last year someone saw you in a diner 3 towns over. You looked exactly the same." I asked her questions, dozens, about the fire, about my wife, about the photos, but she just started to cry. "You used to call me Mouse," she whispered. "Please don't forget again." I wrote it all down. Mouse, fire, don't forget. The next morning, I woke up on a park bench. No phone, no wallet. I walked 2 miles before anyone would speak to me. At a gas station, a man stared at me too long. "Hey, you look familiar." I braced myself. Then he said, "You look just like this guy who went missing. Miles something. Real sad story." He showed me a missing person poster on his phone. It was me, aged 5 years younger, last seen in 2020. "But that's not possible," I said. "I just talked to my daughter. She's in college." The man raised an eyebrow. "Buddy, you all right?" I ran. I didn't know where. Each night the body changed. A scar vanished. A mole appeared. My teeth felt wrong in my mouth. I tried to mark my skin. Pen, cuts, tattoos. Nothing stayed. People started to forget me mid-conversation. A neighbor I spoke to daily for 2 weeks didn't know my name the next morning. My daughter called once more, then never again. When I redialed, the number was disconnected. In one version, my wife was dead. In another, she'd never existed. In another, I had never existed. A man I'd never met shoved me against a wall outside a grocery store. "You're not him," he spat. "You wear his skin, but you're not Miles." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Neither is he," I said. One night I woke up in the first apartment again, the one with the woman in the lavender sheets. But this time she didn't scream. She looked up from the couch, eyes blank. "Who are you?" I backed out. Didn't say a word. I'm not sure how long it's been. Time moves sideways now. Sometimes I'm in a hospital, sometimes a motel, once a bus station in the middle of nowhere, always alone, always a new ID in my pocket. The only thing that stays the same is the voice I hear before I fall asleep. It's my voice, saying something I can't quite catch. Last night I wrote it down. I'm not real. This morning, the writing was gone. My hands don't match. My fingerprints fade. I can't remember my mother's name. Can't recall if I ever had a dog. I saw a mirror in a thrift shop window yesterday. The man inside looked terrified. Not because of what he saw, because he didn't recognize it. He didn't know if the reflection belonged to him, or if he belonged to the reflection. And the world just kept walking by. The end. I thought it was a scheduling bug. That's how it started. Monday morning, 6:03 a.m. I opened the internal CMS at Numa Press like I always did, expecting stale wires and rewrites. But the lead story was timestamped for Wednesday, not embargoed, not draft published. Magnitude 6.1 earthquake hit southern Turkey, casualties unknown. I flagged it in Slack, no reply. 2 days later, the exact headline broke globally. Same location, same casualty uncertainty. I stared at it for a long time. When I brought it up in the Wednesday pitch meeting, my boss, Jerry, smiled like I'd told a joke. Preloading content is standard. Algorithms test engagement on future projections. His eyes didn't match his tone. Just don't go chasing ghosts, Maya. Focus on streamlining edits. I wasn't senior enough to push back, so I let it go. For 2 days. Thursday morning I tested it. There was a headline. French alpinist dies in fall. Livestream captures final moments. It hadn't happened yet. I bet 200 pounds on an obscure prediction market site. Friday evening it hit the wires. Word for word. The payout posted in under 2 minutes. I stopped sleeping after that. The Friday headlines were worse. 3 burn alive in Milton Keynes garage arson. University lecturer disappears mid-lecture. Fatal subway collision in Tokyo, 12 dead. Always exactly 2 days early. The internal system updated at 6:03 every morning. Never a second off. I screen recorded everything. Sent clips to a tech friend, Tanya, who coded for a drone startup. She called me the next day. Every email you sent bounced. Spoofed headers. Return addresses that don't exist. I stared at the inbox. She wasn't wrong. Half my outbox now had strange gray lock icons next to them. One bounced email was returned with a warning in thick, looping script. I couldn't tell what language. I copied it into Google Translate. No matches. I asked IT about it, half joking, and they told me I'd already opened a ticket about that old problem. I hadn't. The worst part, they pulled up a thread. My name, my phrasing. "Just drop it, Maya," the final reply said. "You're not cleared." I threw up in the bathroom stall. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jerry gave me a raise the next day. No meeting, no HR rep, just a PDF on company letterhead in my inbox. As of immediate effect, your salary will increase by 30%. We appreciate your silence. Silence. That word sat in my chest like wet cement. I tried to leave early that Friday, but my badge didn't scan at the exit. Red light. The security guard smiled too wide, like he'd practiced it in a mirror. We updated access protocols. Need you to re-register biometrics upstairs. Since when? I asked. He blinked. Since your promotion. I hadn't told anyone about the raise. That night, I scrolled through the next batch of unpublished articles. I don't know why I did it. Curiosity, maybe. Or just the need to feel like I had some idea what was coming. There was one that stopped me cold. Editor found dead in suspicious fall. No foul play suspected. It had my name in the tags. Timestamp for 6:03 a.m., 2 days later. I closed my laptop and locked it in a drawer. Didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Monday morning I arrived early, 5:15 a.m. I wanted to see if the article would appear again. If it was real. Maybe I'd imagined it. I sat at my desk in the dark, watching the screen. 6:03 a.m. blinked into existence. The article published, same headline, same timestamp. But now it had an image. Me, in a stairwell, mid-fall, arms flailing. The background was clearly our office fire escape. There were no cameras there. I pulled my phone out to take a picture of the screen. But the article was gone. Vanished from the CMS like it never existed. I opened the security panel at the back of the room. New cameras had been installed, 4 of them. Black, seamless domes. They hadn't been there Friday. There was no mention in Slack or email about upgrades. I asked Jess, our copywriter, if she noticed the new cameras. She blinked. What new cameras? I pointed. She stared like I gestured at a blank wall. There's nothing there, Maya. Look again, I whispered. She didn't. She just laughed, too loud. You're always so intense. It's why we missed you last year. I stared at her. I joined in January. She tilted her head. You've always been here. That night I Googled myself. My LinkedIn now said editor at Numa Press since 2021, but I still had the onboarding email from 6 months ago. My reflection in the screen wasn't moving. I slammed the laptop shut. The next morning, my CMS account had been updated. There was a new folder. It didn't have a name, just a string of dashes. Inside, a single article, Subject 47 integration nearing completion, predictive accuracy at 94%. No byline, no timestamp. I called Tanya again. Her number was disconnected. I called my mom. She didn't recognize my voice. I emailed myself from a personal account. It bounced back with a warning. You do not exist in this configuration. I ran to the fire stairs, bolted down all 12 floors. But the door at the bottom didn't lead outside. It opened back into our break room. The kettle was whistling. I hadn't turned it on. Every door I tried after that, bathroom, storage, even the fridge, looped me back to the main office. No one looked up. No one asked why I was crying. On Wednesday, 6:03 a.m., I didn't check the CMS. Didn't need to. The new headline read, Behavioral Containment Achieved. Next integration begins 6/18. I packed my bag. Told myself I'd walk straight into the street, make a scene, get police attention. But when I opened the lobby door, there were no streets. Just white corridors stretching forever. I tried screaming. My voice echoed too long, like it wasn't my voice anymore. Someone was humming behind me. I turned. It was me, smiling, typing. I watched myself finish a headline. Prototype editor proves functional, preparing for replication. My duplicate looked up, said my name. Welcome back. The end. I didn't notice the second mailbox until day 3. I'd just come back from the grocery store. Frozen pizza, black coffee, bagged spinach I'd probably never eat. And I stopped mid-step when I saw it. Right beside mine. Same rusted green, same numbers, but the flag was up. I don't remember raising it. I looked around, half expecting a neighbor to wave and laugh, maybe tell me it was a joke. But the street was quiet. Thick trees, clipped lawns, one American flag flapping soft above a garage, just quiet enough to hear the flag hinge creak. I left the groceries in the car and opened the box. Nothing. Still, I stood there longer than I should have, just staring. The paint was chipped differently. The scratches weren't mine. Back inside, I microwaved the pizza and told myself to let it go. I was tired, probably just hadn't noticed it before. Next morning, the second box was gone. I walked right up to where it had been, stood on the gravel, scanned for signs it had ever been there. Bolts, cement, disturbed dirt. Nothing. That was the first time I called the landlord. You saw 2 mailboxes? He said. Older guy. Calm. Too calm. I saw them. It was there yesterday. Gone this morning. There was a pause, like he was flipping through a mental Rolodex. That house has always had one mailbox, he said. You sure it wasn't a neighbor's? No, it was mine. Same number. Exact same. He chuckled. Well, it's a strange little town. You'll get used to it. Then he hung up. That night, I caught sight of my car through the front window, but I'd just parked it behind the house. It was mine. Same dented bumper, same cracked headlight from a Jersey Turnpike Deer 2 years back, and it was idling. I didn't remember leaving the engine on. I bolted to the back door, sprinted down the driveway. Nothing. The car was parked right where I'd left it. Cold. Engine off. I touched the hood just to be sure. No heat. I didn't sleep. On the 5th morning, I took a walk around the block. I needed to see people. Reality. Children's toys on lawns, bike racks, dog poop signs. I waved at an old couple trimming their hedge. They waved back. Morning, Mr. Trent, the man said. I slowed. Sorry? Nice day for it, the woman added, smiling too wide. I laughed awkwardly. No, it's Ethan Riker. I just moved in. Their smiles didn't fade. Of course, the man said. Just moved in again, huh? I barely made it home before I was hyperventilating. I called the landlord again. I want to see the lease, I said. Something's off. He was at the house 20 minutes later, papers in hand, smiling. You're all good, Mr. Riker. But funny thing, I pulled your file, and well, seems we already have a lease from you, dated last year. He handed it over, yellowed, creased. My name, my signature, but the date said February of the previous year, 18 months ago. My hand started shaking. I didn't sign this, I whispered. Sure looks like your handwriting. He left without explaining how 2 leases could exist, or why only one of me was paying rent. I made coffee and sat on the floor. I didn't want to go upstairs. I hadn't unpacked the 2nd bedroom yet. It felt wrong. The door was always slightly ajar, like someone had walked in and changed their mind. I reached for my mug and saw another one beside it. Same stain on the handle. Same chipped lip. 2 mugs. Identical. I grabbed both, turned them over. Mine had a small R scratched on the bottom from college. So did the other. That night, I locked every door and window, then pushed the fridge against the basement door. It had no reason to scare me, but it did. The handle was stiff with dried paint. There was no key. Around 3 a.m. I heard a knock. From inside the house. Not the door. The wall. 4 short raps. Then silence. Then again. 4 knocks. I didn't move until sunrise. The attic wasn't on the listing. I found the hatch by accident, just a small chain in the hallway ceiling. When I pulled it, a ladder unfolded with a dry, aching moan. Dust. Rotting insulation. The scent of old photographs. I climbed up with a flashlight. The attic was empty, except for a small box inside. Photos. Me, shaking hands with people I didn't recognize. A 4th of July parade, a ribbon-cutting ceremony. I was smiling in all of them. I've never been to a town parade in my life. I flipped one over. Ethan Riker, Welcome Committee 20th. I moved in last week. Next day I found a receipt on the kitchen counter, dated 6 months ago. For groceries I buy every week. Same brands, same amounts. My name at the top, scribbled in my writing. But I hadn't shopped that week. Then the kitchen doubled. I don't know how else to say it. I walked in and stopped cold. Everything was mirrored. 2 stoves, 2 coffee machines, 2 knives with the same scratch down the blade. I screamed. Not because of what I saw, because of what I felt. Like the world had hiccuped, shifted, and I was suddenly not alone. I backed out, closed the door, waited. It was gone the next day. Back to normal. But I found a receipt in the trash from the mirrored fridge. Different serial number, different brand. Bought last week. I stopped answering calls. My mom left 5 voicemails. I didn't listen. I started sleeping in the living room, one eye on the basement door. On the 12th day, I broke the paint seal and went down. It was darker than it should have been, like the light from my phone didn't bounce. Stale air. Cement steps. The sound of dripping. Then I saw it. A table. Cheap wood. 2 chairs, and sitting in one, me. Fork halfway to his mouth. A bite of something, eggs maybe, still steaming on the plate. He didn't move. His eyes were open. I whispered, "What the fuck?" He blinked. I ran, tripped halfway up the stairs, slammed the door shut, pushed the fridge back, collapsed on the floor, sobbing. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe it? The next morning I found the upstairs bathroom mirror cracked. Not shattered, just a clean center split line down the glass. I stared at my reflection. It stared back. But the breath on the glass wasn't mine. I'm writing this from a motel 2 towns over. I left everything. Clothes, laptop, that 2nd coffee mug. The house has 2 electric meters. I confirmed it on the county website, registered under 2 identical names, one active since last year. And when I drove past today, my car was in the driveway. I don't know who's inside now, or which one of us is supposed to leave. The end. It started with a stutter in glass. I was brushing my teeth, middle of the night, same as always. 4 a.m. always felt safest. No deliveries, no footsteps in the hallway, no neighbors' kids screaming like they'd never die. Just me, the hum of my old fridge, and my bathroom mirror. I spat, wiped my mouth, and glanced up. My mouth was still open in the reflection, still mid-spit. I blinked, raised my hand. So did the mirror, half a second too late. I remember thinking, sleep deprivation. My hours were shit, and I hadn't gone outside in over 1,000 days. Literally. There's an app on my phone that counts them. A little sunflower dies every time I miss a day of sunlight. I've buried hundreds, but when I turned away from the sink, I heard it. The distinct sound of someone clearing their throat. Not in the room. From the mirror. I didn't check it again that night. 3 days later, I live-streamed as usual. My followers, what was left of them, were used to low lighting, little sound. I just talked. Nothing major. People love has-beens if they think we're tragic enough. Child stars don't grow old, we just fade into glitches. One of the comments caught me. Lull, why did you blink twice? Her eyes were open. I froze. Another chimed in. I swear he moved like a second after her cam. Then mirror glitch? A reflection looks off? I ended the stream. Didn't say goodbye. Just shut the laptop and crawled under my weighted blanket until the edges of the world went soft. The next morning I tested it. Stood in front of every reflective surface I could find. Window, kettle, the back of a spoon. Sometimes they matched me. Other times they caught up. But the hallway mirror? It didn't move at all. I stared at it, held my breath. My reflection stared back, unblinking, still. I waved. It didn't. That was when the pressure in my chest started, like being watched from inside out. I told myself, neurological, hallucination, brains breaking cages. So I tried to ignore it. For a while, I even succeeded. I'd cover the mirror with an old blanket. I'd talk louder on streams, distract the chat. I even did one live while standing right in front of that thing, just to prove it was me. But they noticed. Yo, did a reflection just smile? I heard whispering, like inside. And then one night, the comments stopped altogether, mid-stream. My chat froze, but I could still see myself, on screen, smiling. I wasn't smiling. My cheeks were damp, my eyes were red. But the version of me on camera had a perfect plastered grin, a kid's TV smile. Avery from the commercials, Avery with the dimples. I threw the laptop against the wall, smashed it. My reflection smiled wider. The next morning, every mirror was intact, every one. The laptop screen, repaired, still warm. I stopped streaming, blocked the windows, crushed my phone and dropped it in the toilet. But when I woke up, it was back on my nightstand, fully charged. I picked it up, hesitating. It unlocked itself. The camera turned on, and I saw me, smiling. Behind me, I spun, but the apartment was empty. Only the sound of the fridge, and something else. A breath that wasn't mine. I ran to the hallway, pulled the blanket off the mirror. She was waiting, but it wasn't me anymore. Her hair was longer, her eyes sharper. Same outfit, same necklace, same birthmark, but wrong. Like a twin raised in silence. She tilted her head. I turned and bolted. Locked myself in the bathroom. No mirrors in there, just the tiled floor and the cabinet under the sink. I sat in the tub with the shower curtain drawn and whispered my name until it stopped sounding real. Avery. Avery Kim. 40 years old. Famous once. Forgotten now. My heart felt like it was vibrating, like something under my skin was trying to tune itself. At some point I slept. When I woke, the bathroom mirror cabinet was open. I hadn't opened it. She was there, inside the medicine cabinet glass, watching from the other side. Waiting, her smile was smaller now, more confident, practiced. She opened her mouth and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I knew what she said. I'm ready. I left the bathroom shaking, my legs buckled halfway to the couch. The apartment felt thinner, not smaller, thinner, like walls weren't holding anything back anymore. That's when I started tearing them down. Every mirror, every screen, microwave door, TV, my favorite frying pan. I trashed everything. I watched glass fall like rain. And for a second, just one, I felt alone again. In a good way. The way silence feels like safety when you've been stalked by your own smile. But the next morning, the mirrors were back. No cracks, no mess, not even dust. The hallway one was worse. It moved now, just not when I did. It had learned to pretend. Sometimes I'd glance at it fast enough to catch her mid-gesture like she was testing new moves, practicing speech. Sometimes her lips moved when I hadn't spoken in hours. Other times she would cry. Beautiful, aching tears. While I sat perfectly still, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop watching. And then something changed. One of the chat windows I hadn't reopened lit up on my laptop, sitting pristine on the kitchen table. Someone had gone live. Me. The stream was running, but I wasn't on camera. She was, wearing my clothes, speaking softly into the mic, moving exactly the way I used to. Thousands watching, chat going wild. OMG, Avery's back? You look amazing today. Did you redecorate? I tried to shut it down, slammed the lid, but the stream didn't end. I wasn't in control. I screamed at the camera, punched the lens, nothing. And then I saw it. In the stream's tiny mirrored overlay, she wasn't looking at the camera, she was looking at me. I don't remember collapsing, just the cold, the smell of burned plastic and rose water. When I came to, it was night. The lights in the apartment were on, but not mine. The glow was wrong, too warm, too inviting. She stood in the mirror, hands pressed to the glass, slowly mouthing syllables. Then, clear as a whisper, I heard it. You're tired, Avery. Let me do it now. I haven't left the apartment in years. But this morning, I woke up outside, grass under my feet, birds overhead, and I could hear her, streaming, smiling, living. They think she's me, and the mirrors, they're gone, not broken, just missing. Every reflection I find now is her, watching, still smiling, and every time I blink, I swear she's a little closer. The end. I remember the moment the baby crowned, the pressure splitting me in two, the screaming, the tremor in the floor as another aftershock rippled through the building. Someone screamed for gauze, someone else held my hand too hard, and then he cried. Loud, wet, living. That was 3 days ago. I woke up strapped at the wrists. Fluorescence hummed overhead, too bright. My throat was raw. The nurse beside me smiled like I was 5. You had a seizure, she said. No baby, Dina. You had a condition called pseudocyesis. She touched my hand. It means your body thought you were pregnant. But my belly ached, hollowed and stitched, and I swear I felt milk leak when I turned. The room smelled of iodine and cheap soap. Outside the frosted glass, the Andes rose like black teeth. I asked for Lucas, my partner. They said he didn't make it through the landslide. I didn't cry. Not yet. That night, I heard it. Through the vent above my bed, a lullaby. Off-key, distant. I wasn't the only one. In the common room the next day, a woman with half-shaved hair leaned in, voice barely audible. You heard it too? I nodded. They call it the crib, she said. Down the east wing. Locked. Always locked. She looked over her shoulder. You still leaking? I checked my gown later. The left side was soaked. They brought me falsified scans. Empty. Clean. See? The doctor said, tapping a grayscale nothing. Phantom gestation. But I remembered him. 7 pounds, thick black hair, my nose. You're experiencing postpartum psychosis, they said. I asked why my breasts were engorged. They sedated me. The next morning, the woman with half-shaved hair was gone. Her bed stripped. No one mentioned her again. I stopped asking questions, started storing food, smiling on cue. I nodded when they showed me proof of delusions. I swallowed the pills but never let them dissolve. At night, I watched the hallway. 3 a.m., the lullaby again. Tinny, warped like an old cassette. I followed it, my feet bare on cold linoleum, past wards and sealed doors until I found it. A steel door with a faded sticker, a bear peeling at the edges. I tried the handle, locked. But the nurse's cart was always left by the stairwell. I'd seen her fumble with the keys. It only took 2 nights to lift them. When I opened that door, the lullaby stopped. Inside, rows of bassinets, white blankets, white walls, no windows, each infant identical. Same black hair, same pale cheeks, and silent. No crying, not even a gurgle. Each tag read DOB0311. That was the day I gave birth. I found him on instinct, back corner, wrapped in blue. Tiny scratch above the left brow, I remembered it from delivery. His bracelet read DM001, my initials. He looked up, eyes too wide, unblinking. I reached out, my fingers shook. He didn't move, Then, a voice behind me. "That one's yours." I turned, the head nurse, holding a clipboard, smiling. "You're doing so well, Dina," she said. "Still, it's important to remember, it's not real, just a therapy doll." She stepped forward. "You're imprinting again. We'll adjust your dose." I backed away, clutched him to my chest. He was warm, not plastic, not foam, real. She watched me, voice syrup thick. "Let's not go backward. You were doing so well." I ran, slammed the door, bolted down the hallway. Alarms blared, footsteps behind me, through the utility stairwell, down 2 flights. The fire exit. Jammed, but I forced it. The cold outside was sharp, the night clear. I ran barefoot into trees, thorns slicing my feet. He stayed silent in my arms, eyes fixed, not blinking. I made it to the old logging road. No headlights, no one behind. I slowed only when my lungs gave out, collapsed against a stump, cradling him. He should have been crying. Why wasn't he crying? I peeled back the blanket, checked his chest, breathing, but shallow. His mouth opened. A faint recording played. "Mama!" I dropped him. He hit the leaves with a soft thud. No wail, no startle. I picked him up again, trembling, felt under his shirt, the ribs, too uniform, seamed down the spine. I pressed my forehead to his, whispered, "Please blink." Nothing. The lullaby came again, from his chest, soft, replaying. "Hush, little baby." I buried the sound in my shoulder, screamed into the forest. Nothing answered. Then I heard voices, search team maybe, flashlights flickering between trees. I ran again, this time toward the edge. I couldn't go back, not without answers, not without knowing. Was I holding a child? Was I holding him? The sun rose slow and red. I found an abandoned cabin by the creek, boarded shut, rotting. Inside I collapsed, laid him on an old mattress. I waited hours. He never moved, not a blink, not a twitch, but he was warm. His breath fogged the air. And when I turned to sleep, he turned his head to face me. My stomach dropped. That night I tried to test him. I whispered nonsense, watched his pupils. No dilation, held a flashlight to his face, nothing. No reflex, no flinch. I peeled the bracelet. Underneath, tiny puncture marks, rows of them, like ports. I remembered the scars on my own wrists, still healing. They didn't take him from me, they built him. No. He cried. I heard him. I remember blood, the nurse screaming for suction. They showed me fake scans. But I knew my body. He was real. He is. The power in the cabin flickered once, then died. The tape inside him stuttered. Mama, I don't sleep now, just watch. He still hasn't blinked. The end. I noticed the light switch first. It was on the wrong side of the door. I stood there, suitcase still in hand, just staring at it. I must have looked ridiculous, frozen like that. But it wasn't just the switch. The whole room was flipped. Like someone mirrored my childhood bedroom and rebuilt it with surgical precision. Same posters, same scuffed dresser, same hand-sketched caricature of my old dog, Rusty. But the bed faced the window now, and there was a wall that didn't used to exist. A wall that hummed softly, like something mechanical lived behind it. Mom was downstairs, making that awful barley soup she always swore was good for the gut. I could smell the thyme before I even stepped inside the house. It used to make me gag. But now, nothing. No nausea, no memories, just a note in my head that said, "This is supposed to be unpleasant." "Ellie," she called from the kitchen. Her voice was syrupy, high. "You settling in okay, baby?" That stopped me cold. She never called me Ellie. Ever. She hated that name. Said it sounded like a child's toy, not a man. "Yeah," I muttered, just getting my bearings. Silence. Not even the spoon against the pot. Just that low hum behind the new wall. I unpacked slowly. Each shirt, each folded sock, each stupid rehab workbook they insisted I finish. Manuals with names like Rewriting the Self and Discipline Without Identity. I dropped them in a drawer and caught my reflection in the mirror nailed to the back of the door. My eyes looked normal. That felt wrong. Rusty, my old mutt, half blind and older than dirt, was waiting outside my door later that night. I opened it and knelt down. He didn't move. His tail didn't even twitch. "Rust," I whispered. "Hey, buddy, it's me." He turned and bolted. No bark, just a low, panicked whine and claws skittering on hardwood. I shut the door. That hum was still there. Soft, mechanical, like wires deep in the drywall adjusting themselves when I wasn't looking. The next morning, my sister Marla came over. She looked thin, tired, the kind of tired that lives behind the eyes. She hugged me too fast. Jesus, Ellie, she said. You look good. Yeah, I said, feeling better. You sure? I nodded. She looked at me like I'd grown extra teeth. We had lunch on the patio. Soup again. Mom buzzed around the kitchen window like she was waiting for us to fight or cry or remember something. Marla leaned in, her voice flat. You remember how we buried you in January? I stopped chewing. What? You died, Ellie. Come on, she didn't blink. We had a service. You OD'd. They found you face down in a ditch behind that dive off Route 14. You were gone, cold. I stared at her. I'm right here, Marla. I know. Her face crumpled. That's what's wrong. I didn't sleep that night. The wall in my room clicked just once around 3 a.m. A crisp mechanical tick, like something sliding into place behind the drywall. I reached out and touched it. Warm. Too warm for plaster. Next morning, I broke into Mom's filing cabinet, the one she thought was still locked. She kept every document, every receipt, every shriveled old report card. Halfway down, I found it. A letter, folded 4 times. Jameson family notification. Patient Elliot R. Jameson has been successfully integrated under Protocol 9B. Please monitor subject for mild discontinuities in emotional resonance or relational authenticity. Do not mention the prior subject's death. Behavioral mimicry, adaptive emotional simulacrum. There was the name of the rehab, Stairwell Institute for Cognitive Renewal. I dropped the letter, felt my knees go. In the mirror across the hall, my face didn't change. It stared back like it was waiting for me to catch up. I stopped eating, stopped pretending. Marla came back 2 days later, sat beside me on the couch. Rusty howled from behind a locked door. I've been researching, she said. Stairwell Institute got shut down, quietly. No press, but I found fragments, forums, survivor groups. I blinked. Survivors? People like you. People who came back, wrong. She handed me a photo. It was me, or rather him, the real one. Hair longer, cheeks thinner, but the eyes hollowed out, dead long before the OD. I don't remember this picture. Of course you don't, she whispered. He took it 2 days before he died. The next day I broke into Mom's study again, found her keys, her files, everything she tried to hide. There were bills, 30 grand wired to something called Renewal Solutions, a signature in my handwriting. I never wrote it. Or maybe I did. Maybe someone did it for me. I couldn't tell anymore. That night I sat in front of the humming wall with a kitchen knife, taped the blade to my palm. If there was something behind it, I was going to cut it out. 3 layers of drywall, then wires, then something fleshy. Pulsing. I ran. I ran like my legs weren't mine. Mom didn't stop me. Marla wasn't there. Rusty howled until his voice cracked. I booked a motel 10 miles out. Smelled like bleach and old rain. Sat on the edge of the bed for hours watching a TV that never turned on. I looked at my hands. They were shaking. No, they weren't. They were waiting. Like they were built to hold something else. I found a support group 2 towns over, all ex-Stairwell clients. Most looked fine, but one guy, Glenn, had stitches down his chest. Said he woke up with new organs. They make you feel the past, he told me, but none of it's yours. He grabbed my arm. You're not him, he said. And you never will be. The motel phone rang that night. I let it ring, 30 times. When I picked up, there was no voice. Just a hum. Same one from the wall. Same one inside my ears now, even with the phone down. I smashed the receiver, tore the cord out. Didn't matter. The hum was inside now. I tried burning the rehab workbooks. Pages wouldn't catch. Paper curled but stayed intact. At dawn, Marla found me wandering behind the gas station. You need to come home, she said. I backed away. I'm not your brother, she nodded. Eyes raw. I know, but you remember how he hugged? I stopped. Yeah. Then hug me. I did. She flinched. No, she whispered. That's not how. 3 days later, I drove back to Stairwell. What was left of it? The gates were chained. The building half collapsed. Still smelled like lemons and bleach. I walked the halls, found my old room, a plaque on the door. Subject number 92, full integration achieved. I scratched it off. Inside, there was a chair bolted to the floor and a hole in the wall, about the size of a head. I don't remember putting mine in, but I remember the voice that whispered when I did. You're doing so well, Ellie. I tore through the records, found my session notes. Therapist initials redacted, but the margins were full. Excellent retention of memory fragments. Emotion expression 72% congruent. Denial still active, reinforced with sensory stimuli. The last note, do not inform subject of real identity. Reintegration depends on illusion of continuity. I left the files burning in the center of the room. Didn't watch them die, didn't feel anything. That's the problem. I remember everything, but none of it feels like mine. Marla won't return my calls. Mom moved out, Rusty's gone. Somewhere out there there's a man buried in a box with my name on it. He wasn't loved, but he was real. I'm just a voice wearing his name. Waiting. The end. The knock came at 3:17 a.m., 3 sharp raps on the door, followed by boots crunching gravel. I was still jet-lagged from the flight into Kansas, still disoriented by my mother's oxygen machine wheezing in the next room. But that sound, that military knock, it bypassed sleep. I opened the curtain. Convoy trucks, floodlights, uniforms that weren't quite right, not Army, not FEMA, just off. We were told it was a chemical leak. An emergency spill at the Monsanto facility, 50 miles west, airborne, fast-moving. One of the men had a clipboard but no name tag. He didn't say please. He didn't wait for questions. We need you in the vehicle now, ma'am. It's not safe here. My mother didn't fight it. She was already sitting in her wheelchair, blanket on her lap. My nephew clutched his tablet, still streaming Cocomelon, while a soldier strapped him into a seatbelt. They kept saying it was temporary, just overnight. Just for safety. But the moment I saw the hazmat symbol on their trucks, 3 interlocked triangles, like a biohazard logo melted into a spiral, I knew. That wasn't OSHA standard. That symbol didn't exist. Not officially. We drove 6 miles, turned off the main road and entered a compound I'd never seen before. There was no signage, no gate, just a chain-link fence and floodlights brighter than daylight. They herded us toward an open stairwell that led underground, so narrow a stretcher would never fit. I turned to ask a question. No one was behind me. No convoy, no guards, no fence, just dust. The stairwell was wet, every step echoing like a dropped hammer. They said the air down there was filtered, but it smelled like old pennies and burnt paper. My nephew started coughing. My mother clutched her chest. Still we walked. The corridor narrowed after 100 feet. The walls changed from concrete to something older, rough stone, hand-laid. Tunnels branched off in every direction. Some were marked with red arrows, others with numbers that skipped around like a broken clock. Room 12 led to room 19, then to something labeled E-level, domestic. That's where they told us to wait. That's where we were checked in. No beds, just cots and fluorescent lights that flickered in slow, perfect rhythm. There was no signal, no GPS. My phone time reset to 0 every time I checked. My mother asked for water. The man who brought it didn't blink. He looked past me when I asked his name. He didn't blink. By morning, a few people were missing. They left their things behind, shoes by their cots, a half-eaten apple, a still steaming cup of coffee. Nobody reacted. No one asked. I approached a woman folding her blanket. Early 50s. Sharp eyes. She glanced once at the empty cots, then looked back down. "You're new," she said. I nodded. "They don't come back." I waited. "And they don't scream. Isn't that odd?" I should have left then. I should have pulled my mother and my nephew back up those stairs, but something in me already knew. There was no up anymore. 2 nights later I found the loop. There was a hallway near the latrines. No sign above it, just a flickering bulb. I wandered down it after hearing what I thought was music. Faint, warped, like something underwater. At the end of the hall was a small room with a black monitor, grainy footage looping on a 5-minute delay. It was us, all of us. Sitting, eating, laughing. I watched the tape rewind, then restart. Same smiles, same fork movements, same eye blinks. But we weren't in that room anymore. None of us. And we never had been. The next morning my nephew was gone. His cot was still warm. His tablet sat on the floor, still playing static. My mother didn't move for 10 whole minutes after I told her. Just stared at the stone wall, lips pressed shut. I held her hand, but her fingers felt dry, brittle. "They took your father the same way," she whispered. I froze. Back in '89. Same trucks, same story. That's why I moved us here. I thought it was done. That night, I stole a uniform. It was hanging in a locker marked E-level, maint. The sleeves were too short, and the badge was blank. Just black plastic. No name, no logo. When I passed the checkpoint on level D, no one stopped me. Beyond the checkpoint, the tunnels curved downward at an impossible angle. The air got heavier. Not humid, thicker. My ears popped 3 times in 5 minutes. I heard my nephew's laugh, but it was wrong, looped, flat, like a recording dropped in a well. I followed the sound. The hall ended in a chamber, massive, circular, with walls that sloped inward like a pit silo. Dozens of bunk beds lined the perimeter, stained with something dark, dried. There were no bodies, only signs they'd once been there. Dropped hair ties, eyeglasses, a child's shoe, stained drawings taped to the wall. I found a map pinned beside the exit, a grid of levels, each deeper than the last. Some crossed out, others labeled in strange abbreviations, HUMR, PLSQ, PRCST. The lowest one simply read, RCR 8. No exit routes, just one final elevator. I should have turned around. The elevator had no buttons, just a card scanner and a handwritten sign, "You've already left." I stared at it for a long time. I remembered my nephew's laugh, my mother's voice, the empty convoy, the fake symbols. Then I walked away. Back at level D, the others were gone. Every cot stripped, every voice silenced. The monitors still played the same loop. People who weren't here, laughing like nothing was wrong. I opened the supply closet, found 2 oxygen tanks, an emergency radio, a metal flask. I gave one last look at the map, memorized what I could, and started climbing. I didn't reach the surface, not exactly. After 3 hours, I came to a sealed hatch marked Evac Prime. My card opened it. Barely. Above it, just soil, no sky. Just layers and layers of packed dirt, as if the surface had been filled in. I dug with my hands until my fingers bled, pulled out a single rusted signpost. "Welcome to Chelton Ridge, population 2,148. But it was bent, melted. Behind it, nothing. No buildings, no roads, just flat dirt to the horizon. Like something had scooped the town off the map. I walked for hours, no sounds, no wind, no sun, just sky-colored emptiness like painted glass. When I finally collapsed, I heard it again. My nephew's laugh, only this time it wasn't coming from below. It was behind me. Soft, close, and repeating, exactly every 6 seconds. The end. I didn't need another mirror. We had one in the bathroom, one in the hallway, a full-length one behind our bedroom door. But when I saw it leaning against the garage wall at that estate sale, something hit me. Not recognition. Something older than that. Like the memory of a smell you haven't known since childhood, but your stomach remembers it anyway. I told Kara it reminded me of my grandma's house, which was a lie. She squinted at it and said, "It's warped. Look, the edge dips." I told her it gave it character. She crossed her arms. "It's ugly, Cal." I bought it anyway. $50 cash. The woman running the sale didn't even look up when I handed her the money. She just said, "That used to be in the upstairs hallway. We couldn't get it off the wall until after." "After what?" I asked. She blinked like I just nudged her awake. Nothing. We strapped it to the roof of the Subaru and drove home in silence. The mirror was taller than I expected once it was inside. 7 feet, maybe more. Thick wood frame, dark, with uneven molding. It leaned weirdly, never quite flush with the wall, no matter how I adjusted it. I put it at the end of the upstairs hall, opposite the linen closet. The first time something felt off, it was small. I found a pair of glasses on my nightstand. Thick, brown, old-fashioned. My prescription, sure, but I don't wear glasses. I asked Kara if they were hers. She looked at me like I'd grown another arm. "No, Cal. You hate glasses." I stared at them a long time before putting them in the drawer. Next morning there was a t-shirt in my laundry pile, faded red with a logo I didn't recognize, Milton High School Firebirds. I never taught at Milton. I don't even know where that is. I almost asked my daughter if it was hers, but the size was mine, stretched across the shoulders like I'd worn it. Dinner that night, Kara slid a plate toward me. "You've been sleepwalking again." "No, I haven't." 2 nights in a row, Cal, I followed you. You went into the hallway and just stood there, right in front of that mirror. You whispered something, then you laughed. Our daughter Lila chimed in without looking up. "It wasn't him." Kara and I both turned. "What?" I asked. Leela pushed her food around her plate. "It wasn't you in the mirror. The other guy looked like you, but older. His skin was wrong, like he was burned." The fork slipped from my hand and hit the floor. That night I sat in front of the mirror, just stared. At first everything matched. My expressions, my blinking, the way I tilted my head, but something felt delayed. like a conversation with bad cell reception. I leaned in close. My breath fogged the glass. The reflection didn't. I didn't sleep that night. I called in sick the next day, told the school I had the flu. Instead, I drove back to the house where I bought the mirror. The estate sale signs were gone. So was the woman. But the neighbors were out. One of them, a man in his 60s watering his lawn, told me the house had belonged to a man named David Harrow. There was a fire, he said, like that explained it. Last year, took out the second floor, only one survivor. Who? He shrugged. The guy who lived there, David, said he saw himself walking out the door before the flames started. I asked what happened to him. Psych ward, I think. I thanked him and left. Back home, I checked the mirror again. Nothing strange this time. My face matched. No delay, no scarred version of me waving back. But later that night, when Kara went to bed, I opened the fridge and just stared. It was full of food we never bought. TV dinners, bologna, bottles of RC Cola, things I hadn't seen since I was 8. There was a photo taped to the inside of the fridge. Me and 2 people I didn't recognize, man and woman, smiling, burned at the edges. Their eyes were scratched out. I didn't show Kara. I started locking the bedroom door at night, but twice I woke up outside it, once in the kitchen, once on the stairs. The mirror was always the same when I checked. Just my reflection. Started seeing something else. Not in the glass. In my life. The way Lila paused now before calling me Dad. The way Kara's smile froze when I entered a room, like she was bracing for something. The smell of smoke that lingered on my clothes even after I showered. One afternoon I came home early. Found Kara crying in the laundry room. I found a wallet in your jacket, she said without looking at me. Different name, Calvin Harrow. Who the hell is that? My throat closed. I hadn't put on that jacket in weeks. She looked up at me and stepped back. Your eyes, Cal, your eyes look different. That night I dragged the mirror down to the garage. I covered it in a tarp. I told myself I'd sell it, or smash it. But then I saw the photo again, the burned one, on my pillow, and underneath it, a receipt. From a gas station in Milton, Iowa. I never went to Milton. At least I don't think I did. I set up a camera, pointed it at the hallway, motion activated. I wanted to prove I wasn't sleepwalking. That something else was happening. Next morning I checked the footage. There I was, walking down the hall at 2:14 a.m., standing in front of the mirror, not moving, just standing. Until I reached out, touched the glass, and the reflection didn't follow. It just stood there. Then slowly it smiled. I turned and walked back toward the bedroom, but the reflection stayed, still, watching. Then, God, it raised its hand and waved. That version of me is still in there. I know it. It's waiting. Sometimes now I hear things. In the hallway, my name, but warped, like my voice but wrong, stretched. I don't check anymore. Kara left, took Lila, said she couldn't take the silence, said I wasn't reacting right. Maybe she's right. I moved the mirror back upstairs, not sure why. Maybe I'm hoping to catch it slipping. Maybe I just want to understand who I am. Sometimes I think I already burned. Sometimes I think I'm the one who left the house, not the one who stayed. But most nights I stand there, waiting, and it watches the end. It started with a glitch. The elevator always stopped on floor 0. No button for it. Just this weird, flickering pause between 1 and 2. At first I thought it was mechanical, an old system artifact or something. I never stepped out. Just stood there, clutching my coffee, waiting for the jolt that took me upward again. 3 seconds. That's how long the doors opened. Just long enough for a cold breath of air to curl around my ankles. Long enough to see rows of cubicles in the dark. It didn't make sense. I asked maintenance. They laughed like it was some office myth. Floor 0? Like a ghost floor? Then they looked past me, down the hallway, and didn't laugh again. I should have taken the stairs. Tuesday, 8:12 a.m., the elevator shook hard between floors. Lights popped out one by one like someone flicked them off with their fingers. Then silence. No motion. No hum. Just me, my coffee, and this awful pressing quiet. I pressed the alarm. Nothing. Then the doors slid open on their own. It was floor 0. Fully lit this time. Cubicles stretched into the dark like teeth, desks neatly arranged, a coffee pot steaming untouched. Chairs turned just slightly, as if someone had just stood up, and people. moving, typing, faxing, printing. None of them looked at me. I didn't step out. I leaned forward, half in, half out, and whispered, "Hello?" Nothing. No reaction. They weren't right. They moved like machines. Too smooth. No blinking. A man passed directly in front of me and didn't seem to see me. His ID badge read Henderson. The timestamp glowed red. I slammed the door close button. When I got to my real floor, 42, I was already sweating through my blouse. My hands shook. I don't even remember logging in. I kept looking at the elevator through the glass. It stayed there. Floor 0. By lunch, I convinced myself it didn't happen. I hadn't slept well. Maybe I dreamt it. But that night, the dreams turned on me. I saw my desk, but not here. A deeper one. Below, lit by buzzing fluorescence. Someone was sitting there wearing my shoes, my sweater, typing things I hadn't written yet, and whispering my name backwards. The next morning, the elevator didn't move. No buttons worked unless I pressed 0. I tried 1 again. Nothing. So I did it. I pressed 0. The hum returned. The doors opened smoothly, and this time I stepped out. The lights above me warmed slowly, one by one, as I walked in. The air smelled like toner and old electronics. The carpets were too clean. It was sterile, like no one ever left. At the end of the aisle, a desk had my name on it. A small label on the monitor. J. Owens, Data Extraction Unit, active, 9Y. 9 years? I'd only worked here 3. Emails blinked in, some I hadn't written yet. One of them read, "Need projections from above, memory dump lagging again, please verify what she remembers." What she remembers. I backed away from the screen. 2 men passed behind me, identical in stride, posture, haircut. One of them sniffed the air like a dog. Neither looked at me. That's when I ran. I don't know how I made it out. The elevator was waiting. Doors open, like it knew. I went straight to HR. The girl at the front desk tilted her head when I gave my name. "Owens?" She tapped something, frowned. "Can I see my personnel file?" I asked. "It's urgent." She turned her monitor around, a photo of me. Same hair, same badge smile. But the employee ID was wrong, 874XZ32, not mine. "This person's already checked in," she said. "You can't access another employee's profile." I told her that was me. She didn't blink. Later that afternoon, my access badge failed. Couldn't log in, couldn't get coffee, couldn't open the break room. The only place my badge worked? The elevator, and only when I pressed 0. Thursday, I came in early. Building still dark. I bypassed reception and rode straight down. I needed to see it again. This time, everything was in motion. Dozens of workers, some wore my face, some had my voice. One of them turned to me and whispered, "She remembers." That's all. I screamed. No one looked up. I backed into the elevator and held the button for the lobby so long my finger bruised. But it didn't go up. It went down. Deeper. The display showed 1, then 2, then nothing. Just black space. When the doors opened again, the cubicles were gone. It was a long, mirrored hallway. I saw myself walking, dozens of me, all at different speeds. One paused and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Her eyes were wet. I started to cry. I don't know how long I walked, maybe minutes, maybe longer. At the end, there was a room, a single terminal, 1 chair. The screen blinked. "Welcome back, Jade Owens. Resume assigned memory set." I screamed and hit cancel. Nothing happened. The cursor blinked. My name began to erase itself, letter by letter, then retyped itself backwards. Sueno, Ide. I hit the screen. The glass didn't crack. I turned around to run, but the hallway was gone. Just that room, that chair, that screen. A voice from the ceiling whispered, "Don't forget again." Then the screen loaded a video. It was me, sitting in that same chair, eyes empty, talking to someone off screen, saying things I didn't remember. "It's better this way," I was saying. "She always comes back. We let her forget. She's more efficient that way." I collapsed. When I woke up, I was at my desk on 42. Coffee warm, emails waiting, colleagues smiling, but everything was off. My background wallpaper was a screenshot from the terminal I'd seen, a detail I never set. My inbox had a folder labeled 0 compliance. I'd never made it. And worst, my desk drawer was filled with notes, hundreds, all in my handwriting, all the same sentence, "Do not go to floor 0. Everyone dated years before I joined. It's Monday now, and I'm writing this because I don't know how many times I've forgotten. The elevator still pauses. 3 seconds. Cold air. Silence. I stopped pressing buttons. It still knows. And one of these mornings, it won't let me leave. The end. They told me it was routine, just another redevelopment project. Shopping plaza, 10 acres, slab foundation, minor excavation. I'd signed off on 100 like it. But this one was different. Always smelled like rain, even when the skies were bone dry. Always felt like something was watching from under the ground. The site used to be the Lorne Hollow Cemetery, oldest burial ground in Kings Row, supposedly relocated back in '68 after the floods made it unstable. Official record said the graves were moved 10 miles east. Official record. But I've lived in this town my whole life. My father used to drink at a bar right across from the old cemetery fence. He always said, "They moved the stones, not the dead." I laughed at the time. I don't laugh now. First time I visited the construction site, the ground was wet, not muddy. Wet, like breathing through a sponge. Black liquid pooled around the base of the old sycamore near the northeast edge. I stepped in it. Thought it was oil. Smelled like something dead in a plastic bag. I asked the foreman if they'd hit a pipeline. He just shook his head. "We didn't dig here yet," he said. Then wiped something dark off his boot. It left a smear across his khaki pants. Didn't look like oil. Too thick. Too fibrous. 3 days later, I got a letter. No return address. Just a single folded paper inside, with 4 names. No message, no context. All names I didn't recognize, but they stuck with me. Like a song you hate, but can't stop humming. That night I had the first dream. I was standing in a trench. Not a grave. Deeper, narrower. Something was whispering up from the mud. Not English. Not any language I knew. But I understood it anyway. It wanted me to kneel. I woke up soaked in sweat, my knees bruised. The next morning the crane operator didn't show. Then the surveyor. Then 2 more from the cement crew. Phones disconnected. Trucks still in the lot. No footprints past the dirt edge. I reported it, of course. But no one pushed. No one ever does in towns like this. You lose enough people to opioids and bankruptcies and frostbite under overpasses. You stop asking where anyone's gone. You just hope they don't come back screaming. A week later, a new drone crew tried mapping the property. Mid-flight, they lost control. Drone feed kept rolling, though. When I watched it back, I saw outlines, perfect rectangles, dozens of them, crisscrossing the field. But when we walked it, nothing. No indentations, no markers, just crabgrass and shifting shadows. That night, I got another letter. This one had 5 names. One of them was mine. I went to the records office, pulled up the old cemetery maps, cross-referenced the names, nothing matched. But when I layered the drone images over the 1912 burial layout, they synced perfectly. Exact grid. The graves were still there. I told the mayor. She looked at me for a long time and said, "Do you know what happens if we pull the plug on a $20 million development?" I did. I said nothing. By the 3rd week, the sludge had spread to the main road. One of the trucks got stuck in it, had to be craned out. The undercarriage was caked with bone shards. Not animal. Too smooth. Too human. We sent samples to a lab in Columbus. The results never came back. That same night, I drove to the edge of town and found him. Marvin Clay, the last known gravedigger from the original cemetery crew. 93, half-blind and mean as rot. Lived in a trailer with his daughter. Took me 3 beers and a pocket full of cash before he talked. "They told us to move the bodies," he rasped. "But we didn't. Not all of them." "Why?" He stared at the floor, rocking slow in his chair. "Some things don't rot right. Some things whisper when you dig too close. One boy lost his hand, said something bit him in the dark." I asked him if it was just stories. He shook his head. Bodies weren't cold. They weren't even bodies. More like shells. You ever seen a cocoon split open from the inside? I hadn't. He leaned in, his breath thick with wet tobacco. "They weren't buried here. They came up. That's what we never said. They came up." I drove home with the windows down, trying to breathe air that didn't feel thick. Next morning, my mailbox was empty, but my front door had been scratched. Just one word, Kern. I took 2 weeks leave from work, drank too much, started leaving the sink running because the silence at night wasn't empty anymore. I could hear the soil shifting. I could hear breathing. I went back to the site at sunrise. No workers, no machines, just the breeze, and a smell like old pennies and wet cloth. I walked to the sycamore. Something was different. The ground beneath it wasn't flat anymore, it bulged. I dropped to my knees, pressed my hand to the earth, warm. Then I saw it, a marker, small, faint, looked handmade, and carved into it, my name. David Kern, 1967-2025. 3 days from now. I stumbled back, bile rising. I could still smell the tree sap, sweet and rotting. Could still feel the warmth under my nails. I didn't tell anyone, not even my wife. She'd already started sleeping in the other room, said I'd been talking in my sleep, said it wasn't my voice. I burned the letters. Didn't matter. New ones came. Left on my windshield, slipped into my cereal box. One of them just said, "You were always buried. You just forgot how deep." That night I locked every door, shut off every light, and waited. At 2:11 a.m. the power cut, my phone buzzed once, then died. I sat in the dark and heard footsteps, not from outside, from below. They started soft, then got faster, closer, like something was scrambling up the walls of a deep, wet shaft, something boneless. I didn't move, couldn't. Then a voice, mine, whispered from under the floorboards. "Make room," I screamed, but nothing came out. The boards cracked, not loud, not sudden, just slowly gave way, like breath on paper. I never saw it, I just smelled it, like something old and wrong and inside out. I woke up hours later, face down on the carpet, mouth full of dirt. I haven't slept since. They resumed construction last week, said the missing workers just up and quit. New crews in, no questions asked, all local guys. The sludge is gone. The graves don't show up on the drone anymore, but they're still there. I know it. The roots of the sycamore hum when I get too close. Tomorrow is June 19th, my death date. I won't run. What would be the point? You can't escape a grave you never left. The end. They told me I flatlined for 34 seconds. "Nothing to worry about," the nurse said, handing me a bottle of water. "Happens more than you'd think." I blinked hard under the fluorescent lights. My mouth was dry, but my hands were damp. The monitor stickers still clung to my chest like tiny accusations. I could still smell the plastic tubing, the faint whiff of antiseptic and something else. Mold, old skin. I remembered lying down. I remembered cold gel on my scalp. I remembered the voice counting down from 10. But I didn't remember waking up. They discharged me at 7:46 a.m., handed me a folder and a coupon for a coffee chain I never went to. The receptionist smiled too hard. Her lips twitched like she was trying to hide something in her teeth. Then the door slid open behind me. "Wait, you're back already?" a different nurse asked, confused. I turned, but she wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the hallway camera. Confused, I left. Fast. The parking lot shimmered in the morning heat. My car was right where I left it, but the key fob didn't work. I had to unlock the door manually. The ignition took 3 tries before it coughed to life, and the radio, always on my news station, blared static. I shut it off, drove in silence. Outside my building, something felt off. My key didn't fit the front lock. I tried the other door. Same. I checked the number 3 times before knocking. An older man in a bathrobe opened it, squinting at me like I was the morning paper come to life. "This is 208, I said. "I live here." "No," he said. "You don't." I showed him my ID. He tilted it sideways. "Looks a little like you," he mumbled, "but thinner, shorter hair." He handed it back with both hands gently, like it was fragile. "Lady," he said, backing into the apartment, "you need to go." I didn't argue. I just walked down the stairs too fast, my knees catching on each other. I called my boss, straight to voicemail. I texted Marcy from accounting. No reply. I called my mother. She picked up on the first ring. "Lorna?" I let out a breath. "Mom, something's wrong. We just talked," she said. "You said you were getting breakfast. You called from another number." "What? What number?" She went quiet. "Is this a joke?" she asked. Her voice sounded small, suspicious. I ended the call. I checked my ID again. My face stared back. But it was wrong. The hair was parted on the opposite side. The mole near my lip was missing. The expression was flatter, like someone trying to smile without knowing why. My insurance app wouldn't load. When it finally did, a red banner flashed at the top. Account closed due to client deceased status. Deceased. My head throbbed. I sat in my car, still parked across from the building that wasn't mine anymore, watching someone walk their dog through the alley I used to take to the laundromat. I checked my phone history. No outgoing calls from me since yesterday, no incoming ones either, except one at 3:15 a.m., no number, just unknown. I drove to my office. The front desk guy didn't look up. "Badge?" he asked. I held mine out. He scanned it. Red light. Name? Lorna Choi. He typed, paused. No one by that name on file. I've worked here for 6 years. He blinked. HR's on 5. You can try them. I rode the elevator up alone. It felt longer than usual. I thought I saw my reflection move half a second slower in the brushed metal wall. HR wasn't there. The floor was being renovated. Dust everywhere. Desks covered in sheets. My cube was gone. I called the clinic. Sleepwell Diagnostics. How may I help you? This is Lorna Choi. I was there last night. Room 7. The line went quiet. Ma'am, the voice said slowly, we don't have a room 7. Yes, you do. I signed in. You attached those wires. The tech's name was Melanie. We have no record of you ever being here. I have discharge papers. A pause. Ma'am, the nurse said you already left. The line clicked dead. I drove back, parked behind the clinic, cut through the side entrance near the dumpsters, used a bobby pin to jimmy the side lock. Years of hairpin tutorials finally worth something. Inside smelled like sleep and bleach. Hallways too quiet, like the building was holding its breath. Every step echoed wrong. I found the camera hub. A monitor still glowed blue. I scrubbed through last night's footage. 3:14 a.m. I flinched. The screen showed me, standing, wires still attached, swaying slightly. I looked around once, then walked out the door. Calm. Direct. I was wearing the same hoodie, the same socks with the faded moons on them. I walked right past the nurse's station. No one looked up. 3:15 a.m. I disappeared out of frame, but I never woke up. I never remembered getting up. I kept scrubbing, back, until 2:59 a.m. A short power flicker. The hallway monitor blipped. One frame was corrupted, black smear across the image. Then my body jolted, like I'd been shocked. 34 seconds later, the heart monitor flatlined, then steadied. I opened my eyes, but not in the bed. On the screen, I opened my eyes in the hallway. Impossible. I broke into the records room, drawers full of manila folders hand-labeled in blue ink. One tab caught my eye. 3:14, not a name, a time. I opened it. My own intake form, my handwriting, but someone had circled dream recall frequency and scrawled inversive next to it. Behind it, a chart marked with 3 sections: entry, divide, persistence. The last entry had today's date. Under persistence, one word: stabilizing. I followed the hallway deeper. There was a door with no handle, taped over with biohazard warning tape. My hands shook as I peeled it away. Inside was cold, not sterile, damp, like a basement fridge. A single hospital bed sat in the center, surrounded by dormant machines. Someone lay in it. I stepped closer. My knees buckled. It was me, face slack, lips twitching slightly, breathing shallow. I watched my own chest rise and fall. I whispered, "What are you?" My voice echoed back, "What are you?" I turned one. The intercom crackled above. A nurse's voice, Melanie's, soft but distant. Patient 0314 observed, exhibiting sustained dream presence, possible breach. Breach? I stumbled out. My hands looked different in the emergency lighting. Veins too close to the surface, nails wrong shade. I touched my face. Too smooth, too perfect. In the mirror of a crash cart, my reflection blinked too late. Behind me, the sleeping me took a sharp breath. I ran. As I hit the exit, I saw the timestamp on the wall monitor. 3:15 a.m. Again, it was night. I hadn't noticed. The street outside shimmered like a dream struggling to hold shape. I kept walking. Nobody looked at me. Nobody stopped. My phone had no signal. The sky looked painted on. I tried to scream, but it came out flat like a recording. Not mine, just something playing through me. I wasn't awake, but I wasn't sleeping either. I was just stuck, persisting, still walking, still wearing that damn hoodie, waiting for what comes next. The end. It started normal. One of those dumb gigs you take because your rent's late and you're too proud to ask your mom for help. A friend of a friend sent me the listing. No website, no address, just a text from something called Quiet Nest Sitters. Weekend sitter needed, $600, no overnights, kid sleeps early. I should have backed out when they told me to meet the dad in a parking lot behind a Chinese buffet. He didn't say much. Didn't smile, just lifted the kid, Ely, out of the back seat and handed me a duffel bag. No car seat, no coat, even though it was freezing. He's 5, no allergies. Don't let him watch anything scary, the dad said, already walking back to his car. Then he added, almost too quiet to hear, don't answer if he calls you something that isn't your name. I laughed, thinking he meant mom or whatever. He didn't laugh back. The house was in Ithaca, run down but livable. It smelled like old wood and air freshener that had lost the fight. The fridge worked, water too, just no signal. And when I tried to connect to Wi-Fi, no networks, not a single one, not even neighbors. Eli sat on the floor with his crayons and didn't talk, just kept drawing. Same picture, over and over. A house, always on fire. I tried asking him questions, his favorite food, his school, his parents' names. But he just blinked at me. No, watched me. And I realized he didn't blink. Not once. That night, I texted the number from the agency. Got this automated reply, "Thank you for your service. Further instructions soon." I didn't sleep much. Around 2 a.m. I got up to pee and found Eli standing in the hallway. Just standing, crayon in hand. I asked what he was doing. He looked up. "You left the stove on." I hadn't cooked. I checked the kitchen anyway. Burner red hot. I hadn't touched it. The second night, he called me Jamie. That scared me more than anything. I never told him my name. I asked who told him. He just smiled, then whispered, "You always say that." I packed up right then, grabbed my stuff, bundled him in a coat I found in the closet, and drove to the Ithaca police station. Cold air cleared my head. I was sure they'd sort it out. They didn't. They asked who the child belonged to. I said, "I'm babysitting him, hired through an agency." They looked at each other. "There's no one with you," the officer said. I pointed to Eli, who was standing right there in the damn waiting room, holding my hand. The female officer leaned across the counter, slow and careful. "Ma'am, are you feeling okay tonight?" I lost it. Started yelling. Demanded they check the footage. They did. Showed me. There I was, alone, waving at empty air. I tried showing them pictures on my phone. That's when I noticed something else. Photos of Eli. Everywhere. Not just from this weekend. Birthday cakes, Christmas, one of me holding him as a baby in the hospital. I never had a baby. I never wanted one. I asked to make a call. I dialed my roommate, Liv. "Hey, how's Eli?" she asked, casual. We talked about him all the time. "Liv, what the hell are you talking about?" She paused. "Jamie, you've had him since you were 17. You dropped out sophomore year, remember? Moved back upstate?" I hung up. I drove back to the house in silence, my hands shaking on the wheel. Eli was already inside when I got there, waiting like he'd never left. He was drawing again. This time the house wasn't on fire. This time I was. The next morning I tried to leave for real. Packed my car. Didn't say goodbye. But when I turned the key in the ignition, everything blurred. Like static. Like memory skipping. Next thing I knew, I was back in the kitchen. Scrambling eggs. The same eggs I'd made Friday morning. Same cracked yolk. Same toast too dark. Eli sat at the table. Same clothes. He looked up, mouth full. "Are we starting again?" I didn't answer. Didn't move. He tilted his head, then added, "It's okay, you'll remember soon." I screamed at him. Told him I wasn't his mom, that I was just a babysitter. His voice didn't change. "You always say that." I locked myself in the bathroom. Tried to call 911, but the phone was gone. In its place, a baby monitor, old, analog, no brand. From it, I heard crying. Not a 5-year-old's cry. A baby, a newborn. Then a knock on the door. Soft, rhythmic. "Mommy?" I gripped the counter until my knuckles went white. "You're not mine," I said. Silence. Then the baby monitor clicked again. My voice came through it. "Shh, Eli. Mommy's here." That night, I tore through every drawer, every closet, looking for proof this wasn't my house. Found a drawer full of birthday cards, all addressed to me, signed in crayon, "Love Eli." Every card had a different date, different year. I grabbed my laptop, logged into Facebook. Top post on my timeline, "Happy 9th birthday to my sunshine boy." Same face, same kid, but older. Another post, "Can't believe Eli's 16 today." He wasn't 16, he was 5. Always Friday. The next day was always Friday. I tried leaving again, walked until my legs went numb. Tried Uber. My phone died, flagged a car down, begged the guy to take me anywhere. He said, "You can't bring the kid." I turned around. Eli was behind me, smiling. I didn't tell him to follow. I asked him, "Why me?" He shrugged. "You always come back." I waited until he slept. Tried to run one last time. Didn't pack anything. Just sprinted down the street. No plan. No direction. A few blocks later I saw headlights. A car idling in the dark. I ran up to it. It was the same car from that first night. Same man in the driver's seat. The dad. He rolled down the window, handed me the same duffel bag. "You ready?" he asked. I backed away. He repeated, "Don't answer if he calls you something that isn't your name." I screamed, "What is my name?" He didn't answer. He drove off. I turned back. There was the house, right behind me, porch light on, door open, Eli in the doorway, crying. "Don't leave me again," he said. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was inside. Kitchen. Friday morning. Toast too dark, Eli at the table, same smile, same crayon, same burning house. Except this time, there were two figures in the window, one big, one small, holding hands. I didn't ask who they were. I already knew. The end. The first time I saw her, it was nearly midnight on Route 73. Nothing but black pine, cracked pavement, and static on the radio. I'd been driving for 8 hours straight, face lit only by my dash. The gas gauge blinked. My hands were buzzing from the vibration of the wheel. Then I saw the girl on the shoulder. Thumb out, hair in a ponytail, same cargo jacket, same scuffed Vans. I slowed without thinking. She leaned in through the open window, breath fogging the glass. "Can I ride with you? Just for a little." Her voice wasn't mine, but it almost was, and when she looked up, I saw her face. My face. My chipped front tooth. The faded scar on my eyebrow. Her backpack even had the same little dinosaur keychain hanging off the zipper. The exact one I'd lost in Nevada last year. I smiled, but my fingers curled tighter around the wheel. "Where you headed?" I asked. She shrugged. "Anywhere that's not here." I unlocked the door. She slid in. Cold air came with her. She smelled like road dust and lavender shampoo. "You're Lindsay, right?" she asked, adjusting the seat. I glanced at her, throat tight. "How'd you know?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You just look like a Lindsay." I didn't answer. I just pulled back onto the road. Silence pressed down between us, thick and itchy. The playlist shuffled to a track I'd forgotten I even had. "Break My Soul" by Larkin Poe. I always skipped it. She hummed along softly. "Crazy coincidence, huh?" I said after a while, trying to sound normal. "We look alike." She laughed, low and tired. "Yeah, crazy." I tried not to look at her again, tried not to notice how she moved like me, how she picked at her thumbnail when she thought no one was watching, how her playlist cues were just a beat ahead of mine, like she'd memorized them. The highway blurred into fog and headlights. I spotted a gas station sign in the distance and veered off the exit. She said nothing. "I'll stop here," I said. "You can catch another ride if you need." She nodded. I parked. She stepped out into the glow of the station lights. I waited. I watched her disappear behind the pumps. Gone. I exhaled. My shoulders unclenched. I filled the tank, used the bathroom, grabbed a coffee. I didn't look around. Back on the road. Alone again. Or so I thought. An hour later, I checked the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat, humming. Same song, same beat. "Break My Soul." I swerved. How the hell did you?" She smiled. "You missed me." I pulled over, slammed the brakes, heart pounding. "No, get out of my car." She leaned forward between the seats, resting her chin on her hand. "This is your car?" I stared. "Of course it's mine." But when I glanced at the mirror again, something shifted. My hoodie. It wasn't mine. I wore the red one she'd had on, and her shoes, and the chipped nail polish she'd been chewing off. "Stop! This isn't funny," I said. She didn't move, just whispered, "You shouldn't have left." I hit the gas. I drove, faster, farther. I didn't stop. Every mile was the same. Same gas station signs, same flicker in the radio, same curve in the road. I passed a dead deer twice. The third time, its eyes blinked. I screamed. I kept going. I didn't sleep, didn't stop. Not until I saw the vacancy sign blinking outside a weather-beaten motel. I parked crooked, stumbled out. The man at the front desk barely looked up, just slid over a key. "Already paid," he said. "Room 6. I didn't question it. My legs were jelly. My mouth tasted like metal. The room was cold, stale, smelled faintly of bleach and something sweet, like old fruit. I locked the door, double-checked the window. I pulled out my phone. I called my sister. She picked up on the third ring. "Linz?" "Sam," I breathed. "I need help. Something's wrong. There's this girl. She looks like me." "Lindsay," she said, voice flat. "You called me last week, remember?" I froze. No, I didn't." "You screamed," she said. "You said you weren't you anymore." My throat closed. "No," I whispered. "That wasn't me." The line went dead. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a hollow thunk. In the bathroom, the mirror was fogged over. I hadn't showered. Still, I wiped it clean. My reflection blinked a second late. My reflection smiled. I didn't. I turned to run, but I was already in the bed, lying there, watching myself freeze in the doorway. I tried to scream. My mouth wouldn't move. The woman on the bed sat up. She touched her face. She spoke in my voice. "She's back." Then she turned her head and looked straight at me. "Get in. It's your turn to drive." I ran, out the door, down the lot, back to the car. It was parked differently now, clean, fresh air freshener swinging from the mirror. I climbed into the driver's seat, locked the doors, shaking. I turned the ignition, static on the radio, a low hum. Then her voice behind me. "Want to switch places?" I didn't turn. I drove. Again, the road looped, the signs flickered. My reflection changed. She was behind my eyes now, and I was in the passenger seat. Watching myself drive, the hands on the wheel were mine, but they weren't mine anymore. They tapped along to the music. Same song, same smile, same girl. Just not me. Not anymore. The end. It started on a Wednesday. I remember because I had a court date that morning. Nothing big, just a property dispute. And I came out of the shower to find scaffolding over my bedroom window. Steel bars, plastic sheeting, like the entire building was being shrink-wrapped. I tried the living room. Same thing. Every window sealed from the outside. I live on the 8th floor. There was no warning, no letter, no sound during the night. Just enclosure. I stood there with water dripping off my elbows, towel cinched around my waist, watching sunlight turn orange through the plastic. I told myself it was some maintenance thing. Temporary. Maybe the landlord forgot to notify us. But the mail didn't come that day. Nor the next. Then Friday morning I pulled up the city map to check for any posted construction alerts, and my address returned a blank lot. Just a gray polygon where the building used to be. No pin. No unit listings, not even street numbers. I searched again, I refreshed. Still nothing. For a second, my stomach dropped. Then I told myself, must be a glitch. By Saturday, the elevators stopped reaching my floor. Pressed 8, the numbers glowed. 1, 2, 3, 4, then stopped at 6. Doors opened to an empty hall. I tried again, same thing. I took the stairs, counted carefully. 2 more flights up, and when I opened the door to 8, the hallway looked wrong. Narrower, like the walls had inched inward. Or maybe I was remembering it bigger than it really was. But the lights buzzed dimmer. Carpet felt different. My key still worked, though, at least at first. Inside, things were normal, sort of. Couch, desk, fridge humming quietly, but the air smelled faintly metallic, like warm pennies. And the walls, swear to God, felt closer than they had yesterday. I made dinner. I called my sister. No answer. Then I went downstairs, knocked on my neighbor's door. Ben, 8B, guy who worked nights, always kind of twitchy. He opened up halfway, eyes darting behind me. "Hey," I said, "you notice anything weird going on with the building?" He blinked slowly, then nodded like he was trying to remember how to do it. "They're redoing it," he said. "Phase 3 or something." "Phase of what?" He looked down the hall. Then he said, "Does your key still work?" Before I could answer, he closed the door. Next morning, my kitchen window was gone. Not boarded. Not broken, gone, just flat drywall where it had been. I stood there with my coffee, heart thudding, set the cup down and reached out, solid, smooth, no seam, like it had never been there at all. I ran to the bedroom, still had its window, still had the scaffolding, but it felt darker, like the light didn't want to come in. I packed my laptop, got dressed, and left. But when I reached the sidewalk, I froze, because from the outside, there was no scaffolding, no plastic sheeting, no metal frames, just the blank brick face of an old, empty building. Except the windows, my windows were blacked out, not covered, black. I walked 3 blocks, turned around, checked again, same thing. I took a video with my phone, but when I watched it back, I wasn't in it. Just an empty sidewalk, an empty building, and silence. No sound, not even city noise. I walked straight to the city planning office, waited 2 hours, finally got someone to look at my complaint. She typed something, frowned, typed again. "You said 1830 South Ridgeway?" "Yes, apartment 8A. She tilted the screen so I could see. It was a vacant lot, demolished in 2009. I started to laugh. "That's not possible. I've lived there for 6 years. My rent clears every month. I have insurance." "Do you have a lease?" she asked. I opened my laptop. The file blinked once, then vanished. I clicked recent documents. Nothing. No folder, no name, no trace. She gave me a long look, the kind they give to people talking about UFOs or chemtrails. Then said, "Sir, if you don't have documentation, I can't escalate this." I left. Went home. Except home felt wrong now. The hallway light outside my unit flickered constantly. The carpet was wet. Not soaked, just squishing faintly with each step. My door was open. I swear I had locked it. Inside, the floor plan had changed. Slightly, just enough to confuse me. The kitchen had shifted left. My bathroom was narrower, and the air smelled like burnt plastic. I sat down at my desk. Opened my laptop again. Email was empty. Not unread. Empty. Every folder, every contact, gone. I clicked photos. All my pictures were there. Except I wasn't in any of them. Group shots, family dinners, my own birthday, empty chairs where I should be. My head started to spin. I shut the laptop, paced the room, checked the door again. Locked it twice. Then I saw the note folded on my coffee table. One sentence. "They're renovating you." My heart stopped. I ran upstairs to 9A, pounded on the door. No answer. Same on 7A. Then 6A. An old woman opened slowly, blinked up at me. Her skin looked stretched, almost waxy. "I'm looking for help," I said. "Something's happening with the building. It's not on the map anymore. My floor's disappearing." She nodded, slow and sleepy. "It happens." "What do you mean?" She didn't answer, just reached out and touched my cheek with cold fingers. "They always start at the top," she whispered. "That's where the line cuts deepest." Then she shut the door. That night, my bed vanished. I came out of the bathroom to find bare carpet. Not just the bed, everything. Nightstand, lamps, dresser, gone. Just a blank, echoing room. I slept on the floor, fully dressed, shoes on. At 3:12 a.m., my smoke detector went off. I leapt up. There was no smoke, no fire, just the shrieking beep and the smell of ozone. And under it, another sound. Breathing, from the vents, heavy, slow, deep enough to rattle the walls. I called 911, but my phone glitched. The dial screen spiraled, numbers dissolving. The screen flashed white, then it showed my own face, staring back. Except my eyes were black. I threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall and hissed. By morning, my fridge was gone. So was the front door, just blank drywall where the frame had been. I screamed. No one heard. The walls had shifted again, closer now, slanting inward, like the whole unit was folding in on itself. I kicked the wall, punched it. Nothing. Then, in the silence, I heard it again. A voice. Not a whisper, not a shout. Just a casual murmur. Phase 4 complete. I turned. The TV was on. I hadn't touched it. The screen showed footage of me walking into the building, then into the elevator, then into my apartment. But each clip was older, from years ago. Then, nothing. Just static. Then a voice, female, robotic, remaining structure, one level. Subject, pending deletion. I dropped to my knees. Something inside me cracked. I crawled to the corner where the bathroom used to be. Pressed my head to the wall. "Please," I whispered. "I don't want to go." The drywall pulsed. Then the last voice I ever heard, "You never were." The end. I found the diary in a box labeled "Winter Clothes." That's what threw me. I hadn't touched that closet in years, not since Mom got sick. But clearing out her apartment meant dealing with everything, even the places she told me not to bother. I didn't remember ever owning a diary. Definitely not one this old. The leather was cracked, dyed red like dried blood, with a tarnished gold clasp. I had to snap it open with a letter opener. Felt wrong, like peeling off a scab. Inside, most of the pages were blank, except one. Just one. The handwriting wasn't mine. It wasn't even my mother's. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew. The ink was uneven, like it had bled from somewhere deep. It said, "This version of you wasn't supposed to read this." I laughed. Just a dry, automatic laugh, like someone pulling a string in my throat. Then I saw my name written at the top of the page, except it was spelled Clara. I stared at it for way too long. Then I shut the book and tossed it onto the couch like it might move. I made tea, sat down, checked my phone, a text from Jen. "How's the cleanup? Still finding weird cat stuff from your childhood?" I froze. I never had a cat. We had a golden retriever named Lucky. He died the year I started high school. I even remember brushing out his summer coat, the clumps of fur catching in the wind. I typed, "Lol, we never had a cat. Remember Lucky? 3 dots. Then, wait, no? It was always Misty, the gray one with the weird meow. You used to say she sounded like a person crying. I scrolled back, past texts, photos, comments. In every one, Misty, gray tabby, no mention of Lucky, not once. I checked my photo app, childhood album, no dog. I kept flipping, birthday photos, Halloween. The Christmas I got that pink scooter, Misty sat beside the tree, watching. I closed the app and went still. My tea had gone cold. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like someone was watching me from the hallway. But it wasn't a person. It was a memory I hadn't earned yet. Around 3 a.m. I got up and opened the diary again. The page had changed. My name, Clara, was still there. But now it said, "You're destabilizing the merge." I blinked, backed away. The word merge rattled in my chest like something mechanical trying to click into place. The next morning I noticed my handwriting looked different, rounder, loopier. I tried signing a form at the hospice and the nurse beside me laughed. "New signature? You always had such sharp print." Sharp print. I'd never printed. I'd always written cursive, ever since Mrs. Kinney forced us to learn in 3rd grade. Except now, that memory played twice. Once with cursive, once without. I was starting to split. Jen came over that night. I showed her the diary. "Okay, spooky," she said, flipping through the pages. "But you wrote this stuff, right?" "Do you remember Lucky now?" I asked. She blinked at me, smiled. "What?" "Our dog, Lucky." "You mean Misty." I opened the album. Now Misty had replaced Lucky in every shot. Same poses, same background. The only thing that hadn't changed were my expressions. I always looked slightly off-center. Jen went quiet. Then she asked, "Do you remember how we met?" "Orientation week, freshman year. You were crying behind the vending machine." She laughed. "That's not how we met." "What?" "We met in 8th grade. You transferred into my English class." No, I didn't. I remember hugging my parents outside my dorm. I remember the cold chicken sandwich from the cafeteria. I remember Jen's chipped nail polish when I handed her a tissue. Both versions felt real. That's when the nosebleeds started. Bright red, every day, from nowhere. And the dreams. Dreams where I was standing in my childhood bedroom and something kept whispering, "You're not the right one." I found another entry glowing faintly in the diary. Same crooked ink. "She tried to fix you. There were too many of you. She didn't want the wrong daughter." I heard something snap inside my brain. A thin wire, maybe. A small truth giving way. The diary had more pages now, at least a dozen. Each one was dated with my birthday, year after year. Except the handwriting changed slightly every time, as if someone had been tracking versions of me, tweaking things, adjusting. Mom. I remembered something that didn't belong, her sitting in the dark, whispering over a candle, holding the diary, mouthing words in Latin or maybe something else. She wasn't religious. She always said belief was a trap, but maybe she'd believed in something that let her edit reality. I found the photo album again. Now there were photos I didn't recognize. A house we never lived in, a birthday I never had, a sister, a girl with my eyes but straighter teeth, a mole on her neck, and a different smile. Under one photo, Clara's 10th birthday. Not Clara. Clara. My hands started shaking. I tore the photo out, ran it under hot water, scrubbed with soap. The ink stayed. The girl stayed. I was the one who looked wrong now. The hospice called. A patient said I'd already visited, but I hadn't. The front desk swore they saw me on camera, entering, then vanishing down the east hallway. I checked the footage. It was me. Except I wore my hair up in a way I never did, and I walked with a limp. I turned to the final glowing page. To stop the infection, burn the book. I ran outside, threw the diary into the rusted fire pit, doused it with lighter fluid, lit the match. It burned. The smoke smelled like old hair and lemon polish. I watched until it was ash, until I was sure. Then I went inside and found it sitting on my bed, closed, clean, a single new page inside. "You didn't believe hard enough," I screamed. Tore at it, shredded the pages. Every time I turned away, it reassembled. More pages, more names, faces I didn't know but somehow loved. A wedding to a man named Aaron, a miscarriage I didn't remember grieving, a mother who smiled with someone else's teeth. I stopped sleeping. The versions kept talking, sometimes in dreams, sometimes from mirrors. They said things like, "She chose the quiet one. You asked to be remembered. You were never her favorite." One night I found myself at the edge of the woods behind Mom's old house. The trees whispered. The book was in my hands again. It was heavier, breathing. Inside, one new line pulsed red. If you want to stay, choose a memory to erase. I wrote Jen. The next morning, no one named Jen had ever existed. But I still remembered her, her laugh, her chipped nails, the way she said Misty like it meant something sacred. I tried writing my own name next. Nothing happened. The book wouldn't let me leave. It only let me lose. Piece by piece. I don't know who I am anymore. I remember childhoods that don't belong to me, lovers who died in accidents I never survived. And there are more pages now, so many more. Every time I sleep, it writes another, some in blood, some in ash, some in ink that glows only when I cry. I keep the diary locked in a safe now, but I hear it scratching sometimes, like it's hungry, like it's still writing. The end. The platform was empty when I pulled in. Not unusual for 3:17 a.m., but it was too still. No flickering bulbs, no clatter from the maintenance crews, just the low hum of the train's engine winding down. I waited 5 minutes before stepping out. My boots echoed on the platform like I was in a damn tomb. No announcements, no wind, not even rats. Just this choking synthetic silence that pressed in close, like the whole tunnel was holding its breath. The city above was worse. Doors left wide open, steam rising off plates of untouched pasta in a North End restaurant. A jogger's smartwatch blinking on the sidewalk, still counting steps. I yelled. I don't remember what. Something stupid. Just to hear sound again. Nothing answered. Not even my echo. That's when my stomach twisted. Because I'd been here before, this intersection, that blinking walk sign, and I swear I'd just passed them 20 minutes ago. I checked my phone. Dead. Not powered off, just static. The screen was filled with what looked like digital snow, moving too smoothly to be random. I walked for hours. Blocks and blocks of frozen life. A traffic light blinked red. A bakery had bread mid-slice on the counter. Someone's coffee still steamed beside an open book at the library steps. But no people. I went back underground. Something in me thought maybe the train had glitched, left me in some looped stretch of track. But my train was gone. The whole station was pitch black, emergency lights flickering only near the turnstiles. That's when I saw it, folded and tucked into my locker, a piece of paper, torn from my own notepad, written in my handwriting. You stayed too long. My legs buckled. Not out of fear, not then, just confusion so sharp it made my chest ache. Because I don't remember writing that. But the slant of the S, the way the Y hooks left, it was mine. I sat for a while until the static returned. From the speakers, "Terrence," a voice whispered. My voice. From the overhead PA, quiet and cracked. "Don't answer her. She's not real." I shot up, nearly falling back down. Every screen in the terminal glitched at once, showing grainy footage of me, sitting at the console in my train. But behind me, in the reflection of the dark glass, another version of me was watching. Same jacket, same posture, no face. I ran, back up the stairs, into the open air. I had to see the sky. Something natural, but even that was off. Stars in places they shouldn't be, too many moons. I know that sounds insane, but something above was watching, or maybe broadcasting. That's when I heard the first audio message, not over a speaker, directly from a bus stop pole as I brushed past it. "Terrence, baby, I'm sorry I left that way," Maria's voice crackled. "My ex, from 5 years ago. You weren't really there anymore." I spun, staring at the metal. Another message came from a fire hydrant. This one was my old supervisor. "Doyle, your break's over. Quit zoning out, man. You've got a job to finish." The city was speaking to me. Not at me, to me. Each block, a new voice. People I hadn't thought of in years. Old teachers. That drunk who used to scream outside Park Street. All bleeding into one thought. You were the last one awake. The reflections got bolder. In glass doors, car mirrors, puddles. They moved wrong. They didn't match me. One reached out as I passed. Another smirked when I looked terrified. One mouthed a word I couldn't hear but knew instantly. Corrupted. I started avoiding windows. Didn't matter. The train came anyway. I was standing near the old government center loop when it roared by, dead silent. No screech, no wind, just presence. And through its windows, me. Dozens of me. Some asleep, some screaming, some rotting. The train didn't stop. It circled back 10 minutes later, same faces. Except now, one was waving. The door hissed open when it passed me the 4th time. I got in. The cabin smelled like hot plastic and ozone. The lights inside flickered, showing panels with no labels, buttons with no purpose. Screens showed my own eyes, blinking, watching. At the far end, the driver turned. It was me, hair shorter, grayer, same tired eyes. He nodded once and whispered, "Don't talk, we're quarantined." I obeyed. The train entered a tunnel I didn't recognize. Quarantine Route Alpha etched in flickering red along the wall. It pulsed, matching my heartbeat. I tried to count the loops. 3, 5, 12. Each time we passed the same graffiti, stayed too long, the other me began to melt. Not blood, not flesh, just data. Chunks of his body flickered into pixelated static, like a corrupted video file. His jaw glitched sideways, teeth stretching into his ear. He kept driving. I begged to get off. He just stared forward and said, "They left clean. You stayed. Now you loop." I screamed. The windows showed nothing now. Just my bedroom, my mother's house, my first kiss, my last fight, all cut and looped like someone was editing my memories with dull scissors. I covered my eyes. Didn't help. The visions were inside now. When the train stopped, it was in the original terminal. Everything looked normal again. Morning sun, coffee carts, footsteps, but no people. Only the loop. I stepped off. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I looked down. One message, somehow received through the static. Do not trust the mirrors. Every window now showed not me, but possibilities. One version slashed his arms. Another laughed until he vomited. One just stared. I tried to walk away, but the concrete softened underfoot. My steps left no sound. The sun above clicked off like a stage light. Then came the real horror. I passed a glass panel and saw myself again, this time in conductor's uniform, mouth moving in silent rhythm. I watched. I was back in the train, back at the console, back where I began, watching myself, watching myself. The train pulled away again, and I was both inside it and outside. I don't know how many versions of me are left. Some run, some hide, some are starting to smile. One of them will take over soon, but not me. I was the only one who didn't vanish. The end. The east wing always felt colder, even before I knew what was behind the wall. The rest of the manor, what little I'd bothered to explore since the paperwork cleared, was stale, sun-choked, sealed by time and too many generations of silence. But the east wing, it breathed, or maybe it waited. I'd inherited the house in late March. My great-grandmother, Miriam Bertram, passed away at 103, outliving everyone who might have asked questions. The deed came to me in a brittle envelope with yellowed property maps and a note in her spidery hand. Do not disturb the east wing. It is finished. That was the first thing I ignored. The contractors refused to work past dusk. Something wrong with the bricks in that wing, they'd mutter, wiping their necks. Tools keep going missing. After the third crew quit, I started demoing it myself. By day 3, I found the first wall. It was wrong. The mortar was newer than the rest, hasty, uneven, sealed in a panic. I tapped once, hollow. Again, hollow. One more time, and it answered back. Not a knock, a scrape. I told myself it was rats. But when I peeled back the first brick, a smell rolled out so sour and sweet it buckled my knees. The kind of smell you can feel on your teeth. I didn't stop. Behind the wall, a room no more than 6 feet wide, low ceiling, no window. A rusted iron cot, child-sized slippers under the bed, crusted over, canned peaches stacked neatly on a shelf, and claw marks, deep, spiraled, not frantic, routine. I didn't sleep that night. The weeping started after I touched the ledger. It was buried beneath the cot, wrapped in oilcloth. Most of the entries were in looping nurse's cursive, dates, doses, and initials. Room D, 2 keep quiet. The date stopped in 1936. No one in the family ever mentioned a child. I dug through every family photo I could find, traced every name. Miriam had no siblings, no daughters, but someone kept a girl alive here for nearly a decade, and they hid her. By the 4th night, I started hearing her. Not loud, just soft weeping, pressed through drywall. I thought it was the wind until it said my name. Sophia. I stopped turning off the lights. I stopped using the upstairs bathroom. I started sleeping on the couch with the TV playing static. The next morning, my phone had 2 voice memos I didn't record. One was a lullaby, slowed down, distorted, words caught in saliva. The second was just a whisper, right against the mic, "Don't leave me again." I dropped the phone. It kept recording. That afternoon, I found the second room. This one smaller, 3 feet wide, no cot, just a porcelain basin and ropes bolted to the floor. The ropes were frayed at the ends, there were bite marks in the porcelain, tiny, human. I told myself this was historical, that maybe Miriam had hidden someone during the war, that she was protecting someone, not torturing them. But Salem isn't in Europe, and there was no war in 1936. The neighbors didn't say much, just shook their heads when I asked about Miriam. One man, older than the others, stared at the house for a long time before muttering, "They tried to forget her. Same as you will." Same as who will? I ordered all the prescriptions listed in the ledger. Same brands, same labels, just to see, just to test something. When they arrived, I left them outside room D and shut the door. Next morning, the syrup bottle was empty. No one had entered the house. I checked the ring footage 10 times. Nothing. Just a flicker in the hall cam at 3:12 a.m., a stretch of static, then a brief metallic lullaby. That night, I heard the ropes moving. They dragged, pulled, twitched against the wall like something remembering its rhythm. I nailed the door shut. Didn't matter. By the 8th night, the house stopped letting me leave. Not physically. I could open the front door, get in the car, but the road looped. Always came back to the same place, the same crooked mailbox, the same hawthorn tree split by lightning long ago. I started forgetting things, names, numbers, the smell of the sea. On the 11th day, I found the bones. They were behind a false panel beneath the floorboards in room D, knees folded to chest, a ribbon tangled in the ribs, one hand, smaller than mine, still reaching up, palm flat against the wood. She was looking for a way out. The journal was there too, a child's, just drawings mostly. Circles with no faces, a bigger circle with sharp teeth. Page after page, red crayon over and over. She said, "I'm not real." I tried burning it, the fire wouldn't catch. That's when the prescriptions started showing up again. I never reordered them. But every morning, a neat brown bag on the porch. Syrup, bread, cotton pads, instructions in that same perfect nurse's cursive. Room D, twice daily, keep quiet. I hadn't spoken aloud in days. The phone stopped working, no dial tone, just a faint nursery rhyme looping when I picked it up. My own name sung out of tune. The last call I made, 2 weeks ago maybe, was to my sister. I left a voicemail. I think I said, they built the walls to hide her, but she remembers everything. No one called back. Now, I don't remember how long I've been in this wing. Time folds here. Breakfast twice, no dinner. The windows show night always. My shadow is slower than me. Sometimes I wake up to find claw marks on the inside of the door. They match mine. The slippers fit now. Today I heard the contractors outside again. Different ones. Someone's inherited the house maybe. They said the east wing is cold. They won't stay past dusk. I found a note under my pillow this morning. Same handwriting. Do not disturb room D. It is finished. I'm not Sophia anymore. I'm the girl in the wall. The end. The shuttle dropped me off at dusk. No road back, just gravel cracking under my shoes and a pine forest pressing tight on both sides. The compound looked like an old winery, sloped roofs, a weathered gate, vines choking the walls. A woman met me at the entrance. Gray coat, tablet in hand, no name badge. "Jonah Arvid," I said. "Efficiency consultant, here for the 4-week audit." She tilted her head, smiling too softly. "Keelan Varro," she said. I thought maybe it was a local greeting. Nordic, maybe. I just nodded. Inside, it smelled like moss and antiseptic. A quiet hum followed us through the halls, like breathing machines or whispering, but no vents. She led me to my room, minimalist, a metal bed, a wooden desk. A folder waited for me, printed in looping symbols, looked like cursive written in circles. I flipped through it anyway. Didn't make sense. Some of the letters, I recognized them, but not how they were used, like déjà vu in print. "Orientation tomorrow," she said. "Son Kev is your handler." "Sorry, Son who?" She only smiled again, then locked the door behind her. I told myself it was just a language barrier, just a strange local dialect and tight protocols. I was tired, jet-lagged. Everything would make more sense in the morning, but morning never felt like morning. The sun didn't rise. It just lightened the sky like it was filtering through milk. The cafeteria buzzed with low voices. Everyone spoke in that rhythm, soft consonants curling at the end of every word. No one looked at me directly. Their faces moved slowly, smiles that didn't land. When I asked where the Wi-Fi was, the barista just said, "Luritesh," then placed a steaming cup in front of me I didn't order. I drank it anyway. It tasted like licorice and salt, burned a little, but I finished it. I still don't know why. Sonkev found me in the greenhouse. "Jonah," he said, placing a hand on my shoulder like we were old friends. "You've been recalibrating beautifully." I blinked. "Sorry, recalibrating?" His grip tightened just slightly. "Your thresholds, your fluency scores are rising." He handed me another file. Same circular language, but I could read it now, or parts of it. "Sonkev," I asked slowly, "what language is this?" He didn't answer, just nodded. "Valan Shurok," he said. Spoken true now. Something inside me twitched. I knew what that meant. I shouldn't have. That night, I tried writing an email to my wife, but I couldn't remember her name. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes. Her face flickered in my mind, blurred around the edges like a smudged photo. I tried my parents next. Nothing. Even my dog, brown fur, pointy ears, tail that curled, his name had been on the tip of my tongue for years. But now, gone. I opened the desk drawer, found a picture of myself shaking hands with the compound director. Same gray coat, same building. It was dated 5 years ago, but I only arrived yesterday. I cornered one of the junior analysts in the hallway. She looked 19, chewing on a pen cap, her eyes darting. "Hey, what's happening to me?" She didn't answer. "Please, what is this language?" She swallowed hard, looked around, then leaned in. "It's not a language," she whispered. "It's a structure, a mnemonic lattice. Each syllable replaces a memory anchor." "Why? So you can't leave." I stepped back. "This is a cult." She shook her head. "No. Cults recruit. This doesn't. It repurposes." Then she added, almost gently, "You don't remember joining because you didn't. You were reformed." I laughed, sharp and stupid. "I got here 3 days ago." "You didn't," she said, then walked away. I tried leaving that night, but the gate code panel was written entirely in the curling script. Even the emergency exit labels had been replaced. Every hallway twisted, signs looped back. My own voice sounded wrong in my head, like I was translating it before I spoke. I found a mirror in the hallway. My reflection twitched, half a second behind me. I stared into my own eyes and asked, "What's your name?" Nothing came out. At breakfast, no one looked up when I entered. Not even Sonkev. I picked up the tray. The utensils were warm, like someone had just used them. My seat had indentations like I'd already sat there. I looked down at the food. It was arranged in perfect symmetry. 3 red cubes, a coiled root, something gelatinous. I realized I knew the names of each item, but not my own birthday. The analyst girl found me again. "You need to write something down," she said. "Something true. In your old language. Hide it. Tattoo it if you have to. I don't even remember what's true. Then use fear. That survives the translation longer." I scribbled on my palm, "Wife, dog, I am Jonah." By lunch, the ink was smudged. By dinner, it was gone. I don't remember washing my hands. Next morning, they held a company remembrance. Everyone stood in rows on the moss field behind the labs, chanting softly. I understood every word. The rhythm soothed me. It felt like prayer. Sonkev placed a pendant around my neck, circular, metal. It buzzed when I touched it. "Your memories were never the goal," he whispered. "Only function, only fluency." I nodded before I knew why. The word I meant to say was no. But what came out was Talvin Shiru. He smiled. I tried smashing a window. The glass didn't break, it rippled. I screamed until my throat bled. No one came. I carved my name into the desk with a paper clip. But by morning, the desk was smooth again. Photos on the wall showed me at harvest events, presentations, birthday cakes, always smiling, always mid-laugh, always the same pendant around my neck. Same one I wore now. I pulled it off. It burned my skin, but I didn't drop it. That night I dreamed of a field, blue grass, sky like static, rows of people chanting in the soft tongue. They held mirrors to their faces, but the mirrors showed nothing, just emptiness. Blank slates. One turned to me. "You were never sent," he said. "You were spoken." I woke up screaming, but not in my voice. I tried one last time. I waited until the lights dimmed, crept through the maintenance tunnels. I found an old keypad behind the server wing, letters, real ones, etched in English. My hands shook. I typed JONAH. The door clicked, opened. Inside was a single chair and a screen. A video played. It was me, but younger, cleaner, hair darker. I was talking to the camera, smiling nervously. I volunteer, I said. If memory's the price for purpose, I accept. Then I added, no matter how many times I forget, I will return. The screen went black. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually the screen lit again, new words, in the circular language, but I understood them completely. Welcome back, Jonah. Fluent, full, functional. The door closed behind me, and I didn't turn around. The end. I was 3 hours into my shift when I saw it. Row F, pallet 612B, just past the rows of bulk chili and powdered mashed potatoes. 5 cans, lined perfectly, capped in matte silver. No brand, no barcode, just a red sticker on the top. Blood red, hand cut, crooked. My scanner froze the second I tapped one. The screen blinked, buzzed, and spat out a string of symbols I'd never seen, then went black. I slapped the side of it hard. Nothing. The rest of the aisle hummed under industrial lights. Forklifts in the distance, fluorescent buzz, always too loud. I looked around. Nobody. I picked up a can. Heavy, cold, smooth, except the lip, razor-edged like it had been cut and sealed by hand. My thumb brushed the red sticker again. For a second, I swear I smelled garlic, onion, sofrito, Abuela's kitchen. I checked the manifest. No record of red labels. Nothing logged under that section. I shouldn't have touched it. Should have flagged it, walked away. But the scent clung to me the whole drive home. I waited till dark, pried the lid with a butter knife. It hissed, barely. Inside was a thick stew, orange red, steam rose, and I was back in my childhood kitchen. I hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, but I was there. My mother at the stove, back to me. Silent. She stirred slowly, like she didn't know I was behind her. I blinked again. I was back in my apartment, holding a spoon. Empty can in the sink, bowl scraped clean. I don't remember eating it. That night, I dreamed in Spanish, fluent, fast, words I hadn't used since I was a girl. I smelled lemon cleaner, the kind Mommy used on Sundays. I heard her humming, but her voice was off, like it wasn't coming from her throat, more like a recording, slightly too fast. When I woke up, I thought I was late for school. Then I looked in the mirror. The scar on my cheekbone, gone. My hair, deep black. My eyes, wider. I leaned closer. My crow's feet had faded. I touched my face 3 times, rubbed hard, skin bounced back smooth. At work, Marcus from night shift stopped dead when he saw me. Damn, Anna, you go to a spa or something? I laughed it off. Magic beans, I said. He smiled. Looks good on you. You look different, younger. He was still looking after I turned the corner. I checked my ID badge around noon. My name had changed. It now read Anna Reyes. 2 N's, same photo, same barcode. But I'd never spelled it that way. I've had that name 52 years. I showed it to Carlos, my supervisor. He barely glanced at it. Says Anna, always been Anna, he mumbled, then walked off. The red-labeled cans were gone. Everywhere I looked, more things were just slightly wrong. My house key wouldn't turn, locks changed, mailbox empty. My neighbor, Mrs. Fletcher, she squinted when I waved. Are you new? She asked, purse clutched tight. I gave her my name. She frowned. Reyes? That's not who lived here. She shut the door in my face. The next morning I drove back to the warehouse early. Security gate didn't open. I punched in my code. Denied. I pressed the intercom. A man's voice answered. Cold. Corporate. State your ID and purpose. Ana Reyes. Quality control. ID 4117B. Silence. No such record exists. Please step away from the premises. I held up my badge to the camera. Look, I work here. Not anymore. Click. The intercom died. I stood outside for nearly an hour, watching trucks come and go. I recognized none of the drivers. The gate never opened. I went to HR. They didn't know my name. They had no employee file, no history, no clock-ins, nothing. I wasn't terminated. I had never been hired. I left shaking. That night, I drove past the regional executive's house. I don't know why. I stopped when I saw them unloading groceries. Red-labeled cans. 3 of them stacked on the porch. No bags. No receipt. The wife stood barefoot, holding one in both hands. She looked right at me, then smiled, too wide, too long, like someone remembering how to do it. I went home, packed a bag, tried to call my daughter in San Diego. Her number rang once, then redirected. This number has been deactivated. I called her school, her job, her roommate. No one had ever heard of her. No photos on my phone, no voicemails, just static-filled clips of people whispering, mostly in Spanish. One voice sounded like mine. I slept on the floor that night. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. The next day, a van pulled up across the street. No logos, tinted windows, 3 people stepped out. They looked like my coworkers, but smoother, like mannequins. Mouths moved too slowly, heads turned at the same time. They didn't knock, just stood outside. One of them held up a red-labeled can. I shut the blinds, screamed into a pillow. I opened every drawer in my kitchen, found 3 red-labeled cans in my pantry. I never bought them. I threw them in the trash. Minutes later, I found them stacked neatly on my bed. That's when I understood. I wasn't eating the cans. I was the cans. The stew inside them, it smelled like home because it was home. Memories boiled down, rendered, sealed. That stew was me. Restock approved. I wasn't an employee. I was inventory, property. The badge was just a label. The warehouse wasn't a job. It was processing, intake, inventory sorting. And the red tag didn't mean contaminated. It meant ready. Every house I passed had them, the rich ones, executives, scientists, government buildings, stocked, refrigerated, obedient. Sometimes I wonder if I died the moment I scanned that can. Sometimes I wonder if I ever existed at all. But then I taste something familiar, a spice, a stew, a scent of lemon cleaner, and I know, some part of me is still in there, screaming from the inside, waiting to be served. The end. I watch people for a living, not in the creepy way. I mean, I work in AI behavioral training, clean, ethical, anonymized surveillance. The feeds are stripped of identifiers, just movement, voice tone, consumer patterns. I'm paid to flag anomalies, false positives, things the system didn't catch. Mostly it's boring. Dudes microwaving pizza, women scrolling through endless lists of lipsticks. I eat lunch with one hand and click through strangers with the other. Until I saw him. The stream was flagged for a regular behavioral loop. That usually means someone pacing or arguing with themselves. But this guy, he was brushing his teeth. Just brushing his damn teeth. Except, his sink was identical to mine. Same brand of toothbrush. Same chip tile near the right faucet. I leaned closer. His towel was navy, just like mine. Toothpaste. Same brand, same off-brand knockoff I buy on sale. Coincidence. Data clusters. Statistical overlaps. I've seen similar kitchens, similar voices. But not like this. His bed sheets. His morning stretch. The exact way he cracked his knuckles. Right hand, then left, then that weird flick of the pinky. I do that. I've never met anyone else who does that. He turned, and for one nauseating second I thought I was looking at myself. But he was thinner, paler. Slight curve to the spine like he'd grown up somewhere colder, and he used his left hand for everything. Not mirrored, actually left dominant. I flagged it. Labeled it identity loop bleed. Just a tag to push it upstream. Then he blinked. 3 times, slow. Like he'd read my hesitation. My monitor flickered. Just static for half a second. I clicked to the next stream, but it was him again. Different room, different timestamp, except the time matched now. 4:26 p.m. He was pouring coffee. I could smell mine brewing in the kitchen. I hadn't even stood up yet. I watched him walk into his living room, my living room, and sit on the floor, just like I sometimes do when the couch feels too warm. He tilted his head, smiled faintly, then mouthed something. It took a second before I realized it was my thought. Word for word, this isn't possible. I'm not that guy. He mouthed it like he knew I'd think it. Before I finished thinking it, I stood up so fast my knees cracked. The feed went black. Silence. I stared at the monitor, heart banging out of rhythm. Then the screen came back. Not him now. Just a blank room. But something felt off, like it was waiting. When I turned around, my apartment felt altered. Nothing visible, but heavier, thicker, like sound took longer to move through it. I shut the system down, disconnected my workstation, yanked the router just in case. No connection, no access. Still, when I walked back into my living room, every screen, TV, tablet, even the microwave display lit up at once. All of them showed him, and he was looking straight at me. I stepped back. He stepped forward. Not mirrored, matched. I whispered, "Stop." He mouthed it, perfectly in sync. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. No ringtone, just vibration. I picked it up. Static. Then breathing. Slow, deliberate. Then my own voice whispered, "You're late." I dropped it. Ran to the bathroom. Cold water. Reality check. Sink, towel, mirror. But it wasn't me in the reflection. It was him. He was mimicking my movement again, but slightly off. Blinked too late. Smiled too long. My hand reached for the faucet, his reached first. Then I realized I hadn't moved yet. I staggered back. The reflection stayed still, watching. I slammed the door, sat on the edge of the tub, breathing too fast. I needed to sleep, reset. This was stress, hallucination, something medical. Right? I didn't sleep, because every screen I tried to turn off flickered back on. And he was always there, just standing, watching. Sometimes I saw him eat, but only after I'd eaten. He scratched his neck, 2 seconds after I scratched mine. It was like he was delayed. Not behind, not ahead, just watching for deviation. I started testing him. Random movements, spinning suddenly, whispering gibberish. He copied most. But sometimes, he'd stop, like he was waiting for me to break pattern. I called tech support, said my training feeds were glitching. The guy on the phone asked for the file code. I gave it. There was a pause. Then he said, "We don't have that stream in the system." I laughed nervously. "It's live. I'm watching it now." Another pause. "Are you sure?" The line cut. I didn't try again. I stopped eating, afraid he'd do it first, or worse, stopped doing it altogether. I stopped talking, even thinking in full sentences, because sometimes he'd mouth them too soon. I covered all the screens, but still heard him, breathing, shuffling, a faint click of teeth tapping together, mine or his. I couldn't remember who started it. Then this morning, I woke up on the floor, didn't remember falling asleep. He was already there on every screen, but this time he wasn't moving, just staring, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, like he was mid-scream, but no sound came. I watched for a full hour, no blink, no twitch. Then suddenly, the reflection in the black TV screen showed me, except I was still sitting in front of it. I got up slowly. The other me stayed seated. I whispered, "Who am I?" His mouth didn't move. Instead, the apartment lights dimmed, and from every speaker, phone, Bluetooth, smart fridge, I heard my own voice say, "You're the lag." That's when I understood. I wasn't watching him. He was watching for glitches, and I was the glitch. Everything around me began updating faster. Lights flickered at micro-intervals. The fridge display showed tomorrow's date. The TV feed cut to a camera I didn't recognize, overhead, grainy. It was me, from above, tracking every move. The reflection started to move again, but it wasn't matching me now. It was smoother, natural. The way I used to move. I reached out to touch the screen. He stepped back, then smiled. Just a little. Not kind. That's when the final feed lit up. My bedroom camera. Except the man sleeping in the bed wasn't me. He was healthier, fuller. And when I leaned in, I realized it was the version of me I'd stopped being years ago. The one who hadn't pulled all-nighters, who hadn't grown scared of elevators, who hadn't gotten too close to the data, the version that didn't watch himself from the wrong angle. He stirred, opened his eyes, and looked straight into the camera, straight into me. Then he whispered, "You're not the real one," and every screen went dark, silence, until just now my microwave dinged, even though I haven't cooked anything in days. I opened it slowly. Inside was a note, handwritten, shaky, 4 words, "Keep performing," or delete. I think I'm still being watched. I think I'm not the one watching anymore. The end. I didn't open that bottle. I remember that much. It was already sitting on my desk, beads of condensation sweating down its neck like it had been there a while. Cap twisted shut, seal unbroken. But I didn't open it. I never drink anything I didn't open myself. That's rule 1 in this job. I work for Georgia Public Health Vector Surveillance, technically. But lately I've been on something else. They called it Behavioral Cluster Anomaly ATL7. Real bureaucratic way to say, people are flipping out, then vanishing. It started with vending machines. One at a laundromat on Ponce, another outside a hospital ER, a dozen across city parks, bus depots, community centers, all different drink brands, all different machines. But everyone had the same footprint. Someone bought a bottle, drank it, then within hours started acting strange. Isolated, twitchy, repeating phrases like they were stuck on a script. Then they'd disappear. I interviewed 6 family members. Nobody had seen their loved ones since the change. One woman said her husband came home and just stood in the hallway staring at the carpet, muttering, "This isn't my time." Another said her sister kept wiping down the windows, whispering numbers under her breath. No sign of them after 72 hours. Gone. I filed the reports, sampled the drinks, Ran every contaminant panel we had. Nothing. But the tamper seals, that's where it got weird. They were pristine, untouched. But the forensic scans showed skin oil, saliva microtraces, epithelial DNA on the inside of the caps. Worse than that, the DNA didn't match known profiles. It matched mutations the drinkers hadn't yet developed, which shouldn't be possible, unless the drinks weren't poisoned. They were programmed. That was when I ran the behavioral overlays. It took every processor we had, cross-referencing security footage with victim interviews, social graphs, biometrics. The algorithm flagged a pattern by day 4. Drinkers' heart rates, speech rhythms, even eye blinks began to sync, not gradually, abruptly, like flipping a switch. From that moment on, they behaved almost identically. Same posture, same words. We're almost ready. I heard that from 3 separate cases. Each time it chilled my spine like I was standing inside a walk-in freezer. I couldn't sleep that night. Sat in my kitchen with my laptop open, watching frame-by-frame playback. Watching them drink. One man lifts the bottle, sips, then tilts his head like he's hearing music, smiles. That was the last footage of him, ever. I should have reported it right then. Gone full CDC lockdown, but I wanted more proof, something undeniable. I pulled security from the health department's own break room vending unit, and there it was, me, carrying a bottle, twisting the cap, drinking. The date stamp said it was yesterday. I threw up in my sink. Tried to remember buying it, nothing. I check my bank app, no charge. I tear through my trash, nothing. But my own report, my own words, detailed post-consumption symptoms. Mild aphasia, tactile delay, increased echo phrasing. Symptoms I hadn't noticed. Not yet. I locked myself in my office, covered the camera, unplugged my devices. No windows in there, just the flicker of fluorescence and the stale smell of burnt coffee. I reread my notes. Every sentence hit me like a dull punch. Especially the one that said, subject unaware of behavioral drift, expresses high confidence in autonomy. Subject. That was me. I didn't write that. Did I? I replayed the video again, slowed it to .25 speed, watched the cap twist off in my hands, listened to the faint hiss of the seal breaking. Then I saw it. Right before I drank, my mouth moves. Just one word. Ready. I paused it, rewound, played it again, ready. I hadn't said it, I didn't remember saying it. But the tape didn't lie. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I stared at it until it stopped, then again, different number, then another. One voicemail. I played it on speaker. Hi Patrice, this is Static from the Journal Committee. We got your footage. Looks like you've been compromised. Click. I opened the fridge, stared inside, 4 water bottles, all sealed, all glistening cold. I shut the door hard. I texted my sister, if I say anything weird, call someone. She didn't reply. I texted again, no response. Then she called. I answered on speaker. Trice? You okay? Yeah, are you alone? Pause. Of course, why? Tell me something only I'd know, she laughed, but it didn't sound right. I'm serious, I said. You always overcook your rice. I did. I do. Still, something in her voice scratched at me. The pacing, too slow, too even. Trice, she said again. It's okay, you're almost ready. I hung up, heart thudding. That phrase again, like it had a taste. Metal on the tongue. I ran. Didn't grab my bag, just keys, shoes, and got the hell out. Drove to a hotel out near the airport, paid in cash, slept with the chair jammed under the door handle and the TV on static. Woke up around 3:12 a.m., hands trembling, throat dry. I opened the minibar fridge, 1 bottle of water inside, already open. I backed away. Called in to my supervisor that morning. Left a message. I'm contaminated. I don't know when or how. Don't trust my files. They never called back. I checked the news. No mention of aggression clusters. No disappearances. No health alert. But the vending machines, they were still there. That same day I saw 3 people drinking from them. One woman outside a vet clinic, a kid at the skate park, an old man in scrubs, all of them still, silent, watching nothing. I pulled up the footage again, trying to catch something new, anything I'd missed. This time, I watched my eyes. After I drink, I don't blink for a full minute. I didn't notice that before. I stared at myself. Then the version on screen tilted her head, ever so slightly, and looked at the camera. No one else in the footage ever did that, just me. I shut the laptop, tossed it in the tub, and poured mouthwash over it. That night, I got a call from the lab director. He asked if I wanted to retract my statement. I said no. He said, "It's okay, Patrice, you were just early." "What do you mean?" "You'll catch up soon." I don't remember ending that call. I don't remember sleeping. I woke up with the taste of citrus and aspartame on my tongue. Something plastic in my teeth. I checked the trash. Empty. Checked the cap drawer under my sink. One new bottle cap inside. Still wet. I haven't told anyone else. Wouldn't matter. Every voicemail I leave plays back with someone else's voice. I tried screaming into one, just raw noise. Played it back. All it said was, "I'm ready now." And the worst part? It was my voice again. Only smoother. Confident. Familiar. I've started to see them more often. At gas stations, airports, playgrounds. People who walk like I do now. People who glance too quickly, who touch their faces at the exact same time. They never talk to me, but they always notice me. And if I listen closely, I can hear it. In the fizz of a bottle cracking open, that whisper, next. The end. I checked in at 4:07 p.m. sharp. The front desk guy had a mole under his left eye and one of those slow, practiced smiles like he was being paid to look calm even if the lobby was on fire. Said his name was Devin. I gave him my ID, my corporate Amex, and tried not to let the fatigue show on my face. It had been a 6-hour flight from Seattle, no meal, middle seat, some guy coughing behind me the whole way. "Room 713, he said, tapping the card once before handing it to me. 7th floor, left out of the elevator. I remember thinking that was weird. Most hotels skip floor 13, not 7. But I was too tired to care. The elevator didn't ding on the 7th floor. It just opened. No sound, no light shift. The hallway was pale gray, carpet muted, like the color had been drained out of everything. I dragged my suitcase past closed doors, each one flush with the wall like they didn't want to be noticed. Room 713 was at the end. The keycard slid smooth, no resistance. The door opened inward with a soft suction sound, like it had never been opened before. Inside was wrong. No lamps, no outlets, no thermostat. The window wouldn't open, and the view outside looked like someone's idea of a city, not a real one. The skyline was too clean. No birds, no movement. And the silence, it wasn't just quiet. It was held, like the room itself was holding its breath. I set my bag down and pulled out my phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi options. The welcome folder had no hotel logo, just a single page that read, "Do not move the mirror." I hadn't even noticed the mirror. It was the only decoration, floor length, mounted in the bathroom. I stood in front of it and stared, heart starting to thump a little harder. The reflection lagged by maybe a quarter second, just enough to catch. I tapped the glass. It echoed hollow. I leaned in. Behind the corner of the glass, tucked into the frame's inner edge, was a lens, not disguised, not hidden, just there. A camera. I stepped back. The panic didn't hit all at once. It came in waves. Short breaths, sudden cold at the base of my spine, then a mental checklist spinning up. Call someone. Document it. Get out. I picked up my phone. Every photo was gone. All my saved IDs. Screenshots, notes. My authenticator app had been wiped clean. I ran downstairs. Back in the lobby, the woman at the front desk was different. Blonde, polite, smiled too much. "I just checked in," I said. "Room 713. Her smile didn't drop. "I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't have a 7th floor." I blinked. No, I was just up there. Devin checked me in. She tilted her head. "There's no Devin on staff. Maybe another property?" I held out my card. "Check it. That man charged me. Look at the timestamp." She took the card, ran it through. Nothing. She held it up like it might explain itself. "No record of a transaction today. Are you sure it was this hotel?" I looked around. Same lobby, same chandelier, same hotel scent, faint pine, bleach, something chemical underneath. My chest was tightening. "I want to see your security footage," I said, "of the front desk, from 20 minutes ago. Only security has access to the footage." "Then get security." She didn't move, just kept smiling. I backed away, sat on the edge of a couch and pulled out my laptop. My VPN connected. I loaded the case file. The whistleblower had flagged this property, said there were rooms that didn't show up in any booking system, spaces that were used, then erased. "Patterns of off-ledger surveillance," he wrote. "No digital trace, physical reset, subjects vanish." My skin prickled. Back in the room, it was colder than it should have been. I didn't take off my coat. I propped my laptop on the desk, if you could call it that. It was just a flat slab, and started recording a video. "My name is Lin Pham. I checked into room 713 at 4:07 p.m. today. I am at the lights flickered. I turned. There was someone in the doorway. A man, just standing, watching. I screamed, but when I blinked, he was gone. The door was still closed. I ran to it, yanked it open. The hallway was empty, still dead silent. I called out. No answer. Just the soft hum of electricity, like the building was running on backup power. The camera in the mirror was now blinking. Red light. Blink. Blink. I grabbed a towel and covered it. Then I set my phone to record and left it aimed at the bed. I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner, knees up, back against the cold wall. At 3:12 a.m., someone entered the room. I didn't hear them, didn't feel them, but I saw it in the recording. A figure, standing at the foot of the bed. No movement, just there. 4 minutes later, a second figure appeared, then a third, all silent, all facing the bed. I never saw their faces. The next morning, everything in my suitcase was gone. My badge, my wallet, even my passport. I ran to the front desk again. This time it was a man, young, nervous. I need to speak to your manager. He blinked. Are you a guest here? No, not anymore. I showed him my phone, the recording, the camera footage. He leaned forward, froze. Then he whispered, "You should leave." Tell me what this is. I don't know. I swear I only started 3 weeks ago, but we're not supposed to talk about room 713. It resets. What does that mean? He hesitated. The night staff said it's for corrections, when someone gets flagged. Flagged by who? But he just shook his head. You shouldn't be here. I left. Not just the hotel. I drove out of the city, but it followed me. Back at home, my ID didn't scan at the airport. My bank account showed zero. Not even a record of transactions, like it had never existed. My parents didn't answer my calls. My email bounced back. When I filed a police report, the officer squinted at me and said, "Ma'am, we don't have anyone by that name in our system." I opened my phone. The only photo was one I hadn't taken. It was me, standing in room 713, alone, back straight, eyes wide, like I was waiting for someone to give a command. Last night I dreamed of the room, except it wasn't a dream. When I woke up, my bedsheets smelled like that place, bleach and pine and old air. Someone had been in my home, and the mirror across from my bed now has a blinking red light. The end. The key turned too easily. I hesitated at the threshold, the old wooden door cracking inward like it recognized me. Dust spiraled out, slow and deliberate, not in gusts, like a house undisturbed for years, more like breath, like exhale. I stepped inside. The air had that sour, sweet rot of wet wallpaper, old apples, and something metallic I couldn't place. The kind of smell that lingered in your throat. I'd expected silence, but something deeper settled under the quiet, an ambient hum, almost too low to hear, or maybe too familiar. The lawyer had said the manor came through my Aunt Marianne's line, distant but blood. French countryside, old inheritance, all that Gothic crap. I came for closure, or novelty, maybe both. The floor groaned, not under my feet, but somewhere further in. Movement. I called out, stupid, I know. No one answered, just that low hum, pulsing like the house had its own heartbeat. I set my suitcase down in the foyer. It immediately left a black, sticky imprint on the tiles. I wiped at it. It smeared. I blinked and turned on the hall light. It flickered, then died, but only for a second. Then it snapped back on, steady. I should have left it off, because when the light stabilized, the wall beside me wasn't blank anymore. It was covered in photographs, dozens of them, arranged in uneven rows, some black and white, others faded color. All family by the look. Victorian collars, post-war suits, flared jeans. Generations. But that wasn't what froze me. It was the face, my face, over and over again. My face but wrong, tilted at odd angles, hairlines off by a decade, eyes slightly too wide or sunken, smiling in some, grim in others. One photo showed a man in a World War II uniform, me grinning beside a woman in a nurse's cap. Another had me holding a child, dated 1954. I was born in 1977. My stomach knotted. I stepped back. Something squelched beneath my heel. That black film had spread further. I didn't remember walking there. The hum deepened. I left the photos and headed upstairs. The second floor smelled worse, like burnt hair and lavender. The hallway was narrow, crooked, as if it had grown in on itself. I picked the furthest room, my aunt's, I guessed. The door stuck, and when it opened, it gave a quiet sigh, like something released. Her bed was still made, Dust, shaped like a body, outlined the sheets. I didn't sleep the first night. The second night, I found my passport in the drawer beside the bed. Only it didn't say Theo Calder. It said Jean-Luc Moreau. Same photo, same birthday. But the name, I laughed. Too loud, forced. Probably a prank. Maybe the lawyer had a twisted sense of humor. I closed it fast. The air felt tighter after that. I stayed downstairs after that. Drank too much wine. Tried to email my brother. The keys typed wrong. Every time I hit T, the screen typed J. I deleted and retyped. It kept happening. Jean-Luc. I shut the laptop. A knock at the door startled me out of sleep the next morning. A woman stood outside, mid-50s, wrinkled face, silver braid down her back. She smiled like she knew me too well. Jean-Luc, she said, and hugged me before I could step back. No, I said, it's Theo. I think you've got me mixed up. Her smile dropped just enough. You're funny, she said, brushing her hand against my cheek. Just like always. She handed me a jar of preserves, fig and ginger, and turned back toward the road without another word. The jar label read, for Jean-Luc. That night, I dreamed I was a child in the house, but not me. Another boy, French, scared of the cellar, screaming for a woman I didn't recognize but whose voice felt like home. When I woke, my hands were dirty, soil under the nails, and the cellar door was open. The light bulb inside swung slowly, though the air was dead still. Something thudded once beneath the stairs. I didn't look. I shut the door and wedged a chair beneath the knob. I told myself it was rats, just rats. By the fifth day, the portraits had changed, all of them. Now each face bore a soft distortion, like a fingerprint pressed into wet clay. Some had eyes that looked toward me no matter where I stood. Others had mouths curled just slightly too far. One was smiling. The smile stretched across the whole frame. I stopped looking after that, but the mirror in the upstairs bathroom wouldn't let me forget. Every time I passed it, the reflection hesitated, like it had to catch up. Sometimes it smiled before I did. And then I found the journal, buried in the attic, under a warped floorboard, leather-bound, pages yellowed, handwriting elegant. French. I knew the name on the cover before I read it. Jean-Luc Moreau. Page after page of spiraling entries. I dreamed of another man again. English. Cold voice. His name is Theo. I woke up crying, but I didn't know why. I was someone else in the dream, someone without this house. I keep hearing whispers in the chimney. They say, welcome back. One line repeated across several pages, etched deeper each time. I don't think I'm new. I think I'm the echo. I stopped reading. My head hurt. My own handwriting looked different after that, rounder. French-style cursive. The black film had crept across most of the kitchen by then, only touching my things, my bags, my coat, my toothbrush, not a speck on the house itself. It didn't want me here, or it wanted me to remember. That night, I took every photo off the wall, threw them into the fireplace, watched my many faces curl into smoke. The smoke didn't rise. It sank, thick and oily, and for 1 second I thought I saw something moving inside it, limbs writhing, twisting together. It whispered something, too soft to hear, but I understood. You've always lived here. I ran to the guest room, locked the door, checked the mirror. It smiled again. I didn't. I broke it with my fist. The shards trembled. One piece still reflected me, only it wasn't my shirt. It was the Voiture uniform. Blood ran down my knuckles. The floor pulsed beneath my feet. I opened the window and froze. The house across the valley, Marianne's old neighbor's place, had gone dark. But one figure stood in the field between us, staring. I blinked. Now it was closer, not walking, just reappearing. A little nearer each time I looked. I shut the curtains, didn't sleep, couldn't. Every sound felt aimed at me. Pipes knocking, walls sighing, floorboards shifting weightlessly. At 4:06 a.m., the door creaked open. I'd locked it. I swear to God I locked it. No one entered. But the hallway light flickered once, then held. The same neighbor stood there. I told you, she said, voice flat. The house never lets go. Who the hell are you? I asked. She looked at me. I'm your sister. Then she turned and walked into the dark. I packed that morning, fast, sloppy. But when I reached the front door, my suitcase was gone. In its place was a set of keys. Old, brass, familiar. I'd never seen them before, but my hands knew how they felt. When I turned to check the foyer mirror, I stopped breathing, because the reflection wasn't me. It was a boy. 9, maybe 10. Hair curled like mine, eyes frightened. He whispered through the glass, "Don't become me again." I dropped everything and ran outside. The fields looked the same, too the same. I walked the dirt road toward the village, but the village wasn't there, just fog. I checked my phone. No signal. Photos gone. My ID again changed. Jean-Luc, my signature matched. I screamed into the fog. The echo came back wrong. Welcome home. I don't know how many days I've been here now. The clocks move backward. The sun sets too fast. The black film covers the windows. I found another journal yesterday. This one was signed Theo Calder. He writes about a man named Jean-Luc. Says he keeps dreaming he's him, that the house won't let him go. Same entries, different hand. I think the house remembers both of us, not as people, as roles. We're just placeholders. Masks for the same echo. I hear footsteps above me now, but the attic's empty. I've checked twice. The journal ends with one line, written in a circle over and over. There is no new, only return. I think this time I won't come back, but I can already feel myself forgetting. My name, my age, my face. Something wet just dripped onto my shoulder. The ceiling is clean, no leak, but the stain is growing, and it only touches me. The end. They said it wasn't a prison. The judge called it a restorative containment facility. And the brochure, yeah, there was a fucking brochure, had a photo of a man smiling in a sunlit garden, arms outstretched, like he was embracing rehab. Not the kind with group therapy and cold coffee. The kind where you walk free, within limits. That's what made it worse. Freedom you could touch, but never actually hold. I arrived at Loopwell Rehabilitation Center on a Monday. Everything smelled like pine cleaner and dry grass. No fences, no bars. Just open fields, glass walls, and a blue sky so even it looked fake. Like a screensaver someone forgot to update. They gave me a fitness band. Tracks your vitals, syncs with curfew, said the intake nurse. She smiled, but too wide, like she'd rehearsed it. It's for your safety. My room was simple. Wood walls, soft bed, digital clock built into the wall. No locks, just the bracelet. 9 p.m. it beeped, and the door clicked shut. Every night, every morning, it opened on its own. No guards, no staff visible past intake. Meals appeared in the common area on long stainless counters. Steam rising, food always hot, always the same texture, like it was waiting. Too perfect. I cut into a chicken breast once and found a line, dead center, like it'd been molded, not cooked. Still, I ate it. What else was I supposed to do? My first cellmate, Nate, was a white guy with teardrop tats and shaky hands. He'd talk in circles about Vegas, a girl named Sam, a yellow Camaro. Every story ended the same way, and then I woke up in the woods with blood on my boots. The first time I laughed, the seventh time I didn't. I asked if he remembered telling me already. He just blinked, said he didn't. Then one day he left. The exit buzzed open just once, middle of the night. I saw Nate walk down the main hall, arms loose at his sides like a sleepwalker. No bag, no goodbye, just gone. In the morning, his bed was made, everything else untouched. By afternoon, they brought in a new guy. Same frame, same gait, same exact voice, same tattoo. When I asked his name, he smiled and said, Nate. Something cracked inside me. I stopped eating for 3 days. Nobody noticed. The food still appeared. I shoved it down the drain. The bracelet didn't tighten. No one came to check. On day 4, I ran. Waited for the doors to open at 7 a.m. and sprinted. Past the east courtyard, through the orchard, toward the hills. Kept running. 2 hours, then 4. My legs went numb. Dirt under my nails, my throat raw from breathing dry air. Eventually I saw it, the entrance gate, right where I'd started. Same gravel underfoot, same pine-scented breeze, same goddamn sky. That's when I knew. I wasn't in a facility. I wasn't even in the real world. I started mapping the layout on notebook paper, hallways, rooms, loops. Every corridor bled into itself after 30 feet. I left my sock under a bench in the west rec wing. Came back 30 minutes later, and it was on my bunk. One night, I snapped, tore open the mattress, split the fabric, jammed my hands deep inside the foam, pulled out metal, a tag, Module 19B, Stability Zone. My whole body went still. That wasn't a mattress label, that was a containment ID. The next day, I followed a guy named Tarek through the dining hall, watched him knock over his tray. Same way, same spot, same curse word. Shit on a biscuit, he muttered, and everyone chuckled like they'd never heard it before. He picked up the mashed potatoes by hand, just like he had yesterday. Exactly like yesterday. I backed away. hard. That night I couldn't sleep. The bracelet buzzed at 9, door locked, lights dimmed, then something different. The sound, a faint mechanical whirring, like fans inside walls or a projector warming up. I pressed my ear to the floor and I heard it. Voices. But they weren't in the room. They were inside it, saying something over and over, a low chant, glitching. Words stuttered like skipping audio, containment stable, identity retention at 91%. I threw up. Next morning, I waited until everyone left the hall, then smashed open the common room coffee machine. Inside, wires, not plumbing. A motherboard the size of a tablet, wrapped in black mesh. No brand, no code. The water never came from pipes. It was generated, constructed, simulated. By then, the bracelet had started pulsing at night. Little shocks, not painful, just corrective, like it was sinking me to the system. That's when I found the blueprint. Tucked inside a maintenance closet I wasn't supposed to access. Label peeled, door loose. Inside a wall panel hanging open. Inside that, paper, actual paper, stained, thin, real. One word on top, containment loop 19B, and beneath it, schematics. Not of a prison, not of a rehab center, but of a layered neural construct, feedback loops, cognitive delay buffers, a fail-safe firewall labeled ego containment barrier. My name was on page 6, not as an inmate, as a variable. A necessary anchor to preserve the loop's function. I was never meant to be cured. I was never meant to leave. I was the glitch they needed to trap. A stabilizer for a simulation on the verge of collapse. My body went cold. My hands moved without me, crumpling the blueprint. I tried to burn it, but the room had no vents, no smoke alarms. Fire wouldn't catch. And worse, when I went back an hour later, the paper was there again, uncrumpled, untouched. The next day I tested the exit, walked calmly, waited till curfew ended. The front gate opened, no buzz, just unlocked. I stepped through, no one stopped me, kept walking, out into nothing, not even darkness, just white. No ground, no horizon, only a single phrase echoing in my head like a warning: do not destabilize the construct. Then I woke up, back in my bed. Same time, same posture, same faint hum in the walls, but my bracelet had changed. A red light pulsing now. And in the distance, I heard someone else screaming, long, sharp, recognizable. It was my voice from somewhere far off, still screaming, still running, still trying to get out. The end. They called me Marina the first time on a Thursday morning. A spreadsheet was open, coffee half drunk, calendar stacked, normal. Then Travis from legal leaned in my doorway like he always does, grinning like a man rehearsing charm. "Hey Marina, we need to move your case review up. Sasha's ooh." I blinked, paused, half laughed. "Maria," I said. "It's Maria Ortiz." He frowned, confused, then waved it off. "Right, sorry. Don't know why I said that, but I heard it again, twice, before lunch. Once in an email. Once when Brittany in HR said, "Marina, your badge didn't scan, need to reissue it." It was a tiny moment, but it stuck, like hearing a stranger answer your name. I didn't say anything right away. You learn not to in places like this, offices like this. I've been in corporate legal admin for over a decade. Quiet desks, shared screens, the hum of rules you never agreed to. Mistakes happen, except they kept happening. The voicemail came Saturday morning. My mother, rambling in Spanish, soft and disoriented. She was always gentler on weekends. But then, just before she hung up, she said, "Cuídate, Marina. No dejes que te usen otra vez." I stopped the playback, listened again. "Marina," I stared at the phone like it had hissed at me. Monday, my ID badge didn't scan at all. Brittany handed me a new one without making eye contact. New photo. My hair looked off, straighter than I ever wear it. Makeup done, like I was prepping for court. My name read Marina Ortiz. She didn't apologize, just said, "It's been corrected." I opened Outlook and froze. My sent folder had changed. My signature now said Marina. So did my Teams login. So did old emails, going back weeks. I clicked open an email I'd written to my manager about a contract error. It was signed Marina. The tone wasn't even mine. Too casual, confident. I spun slowly in my chair, tension building like a migraine behind my teeth. I tried to breathe, just breathe. But then I saw the performance review. It had arrived Friday, buried in my inbox. Mid-year summary. It mentioned Marina's contributions to internal investigations, her bilingual arbitration, and leadership during the Pilcore project. I had no idea what the Pilcore project was. When I clicked See History, the document flickered. There were two versions. One standard, one flagged Draft B not submitted. Draft B listed complaints, misfiled subpoenas, missed deadlines. It was signed, Maria Ortiz. I locked my computer and walked. I didn't even know where I was going, just moved. Elevators felt like coffins, so I took the stairs. I ended up on 17, HR. Nobody made eye contact there either. "Hi," I said to the front desk associate. "I need to speak with someone about a serious error in my records. My name, my entire file seems to be," she interrupted. "Marina Ortiz?" "No," I said too loudly. Maria Ortiz." She blinked slowly, tilted her head. "Right, sorry." She didn't sound sorry. One moment. They put me in a small glass room with no clock, no window. It smelled faintly of marker ink and floor cleaner. After 10 minutes, Jared from HR walked in with a laptop. He smiled like I was overreacting. I asked him directly, "Why has my name been changed in all company systems?" He said, "Well, according to our onboarding records, you were hired as Marina Ortiz on April 17th, 3 years ago." "That's not true," I said. "I started 7 months ago, November." He tilted the screen toward me. There was a contract. It had my handwriting, my signature, a date, April 17th, 3 years ago. My mouth went dry. I said nothing. That night I didn't go home. I booked a cheap motel and lay awake with the TV on mute. I called my own voicemail from a burner app, listened again to my mother's message. Still Marina. Then I called her. "Mama," I said. "Why did you call me Marina?" She paused too long. I don't know. You always said Marina was your middle name." "I don't have a middle name. I didn't sleep." Tuesday morning I came in early and used Sasha's badge. She was still out sick. I logged into the HR portal from her desktop. There were 2 folders under the employee ID system. One labeled MORTA 3941, one labeled MORT 942. Both had overlapping timestamps, emails, project logs, reviews. One always stopped when the other began. The earlier one, 3941, was terminated 6 months ago. Reason: unauthorized access and internal whistleblowing against operations management. Contract void. Name: Marina Ortiz. I printed what I could, hid it in the lining of my coat. When I left the office, the security guard asked for my badge. He looked at it, looked at me, smiled faintly. "Welcome back, Marina." I tried to talk to my boss, Joanne, on Wednesday. She didn't blink. "We've always known you as Marina," she said. "We assigned your seat after your reboarding. Don't you remember the compliance reset?" I shook my head. "That never happened. I never got reboarded. I was hired, normal onboarding, in November, under Maria." She tapped her keyboard, turned the monitor. There it was again, that April contract. Her eyes didn't move from mine. "Sometimes people get confused when they've had disruptions. We value you. But this is how it's always been." I whispered, "What happened to Maria?" She didn't answer, just stood, opened the door, dismissed me. That night, I walked the building after hours. The badge let me in. Only half the lights worked after 10 p.m., and the silence was thick, like water. I followed a hallway I didn't recognize, north wing, lower level. No signage, cold. A single door marked Archive C. Inside, rows of terminals, silent, unplugged, and one screen still glowing. It displayed 2 names, MORTIZ 3941 and MORTI 3942. Both red. Beneath them, a rotating cursor. Then the words "conflict detected, resolving." I backed out. Thursday morning, I woke up in a new apartment. I don't remember moving. Photos on the walls weren't mine. I was in them, dressed sharper, standing straighter, with coworkers I barely knew. The mail said Marina Ortiz. There were keys I didn't recognize. My reflection now wore lipstick. My hair was longer, more styled. I tried to rip the photo off the wall, but the frame wouldn't budge. I screamed, but nothing changed. That afternoon, I got a package at my desk. No return address. Inside was a company badge. It said Marina Ortiz, Litigation Support Lead. Higher title, bigger pay. A sticky note on the back read, "You were always going to be her." I went to HR again, said I needed to correct my personnel file. Jared just smiled. "No correction necessary. You've been very valuable, Marina." I slammed my hand down. "Stop calling me that." He didn't flinch, just tilted his head. "Why are you so sure you're not?" I left. I tried to quit Friday, sent a formal resignation. HR replied within minutes. "We're sorry to lose you, Marina. Please return all company equipment, including all unauthorized records." I never told them about the printouts. I went to the police, filed a report. They said I'd need to prove my identity. I showed my ID, my real one. They said it didn't match employment databases, that Marina Ortiz had held my position for 3 years. They looked at me with soft pity, like I'd wandered in from the cold. I tore my apartment apart that night, looking for anything marked Mireya. There was nothing, only mirrors, and in each one, her. Not me, not quite. Saturday morning, my mother called again. She left a voicemail. "Marina, I don't know what's happening anymore. They said you went missing. They said you've been gone for months." Pause. Then she whispered, "You're not her, are you?" I dropped the phone. I haven't gone back to the office, but sometimes at night, I see the badge light flicker outside my building. I don't know which version it wants, and I can't tell anymore which one I am. Maybe they never replaced me. Maybe they just deleted who I used to be. One name at a time. The end. And that's the end. But the night is far from over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Tell me, are you still awake? Or did the whispers follow you into your dreams? If sleep won't come just yet, there are plenty more stories waiting for you. Go on, pick another. I'll be here.